our link on the human condition page. It looks like we're live. Let me get my screen back with you guys. There we are. So we're live now. This is the human condition. I'm Vince Orlando.
I'm Steve.
And Monk over here on the West Coast.
Hey, Monk, it's good to see you, man. It's been a while. Last time I saw you was on Fearless and Fortunate, and your book got me all kinds of inspired. You want to tell people a little bit about what you do?
I'm a transformational coach and an author, and what else do I do? Oh, I speak. I do motivational speak. Sometimes I just don't even remember what I do. I have to really think about it. Yeah, but I have a book coming out here in January. But I just help people to see maybe something that they can't see within themselves.
Yeah, I think we need that, because and that's part of the problem that plagues, even with racism, is people aren't able to see themselves. They can't see themselves, so they can't see others. And it's this constant illusion of separation. We're living in this state of lack and limitation. Fear, protect myself, get what I can, because the world's trying to take from me, and in that state, we really can't do anything but what we're doing, on a grand scale. I mean, that's what else could you possibly do? It's almost natural, or unnatural. Yeah, I mean, because I in my belief, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, right? So this is traumatic for me, right? As soon as you step into the realm of the five senses, you start getting beat down immediately, because this isn't true. That there's this deep knowing that this isn't real. This and all the hate, the back and forth, all the jealousy, the anger, like it just doesn't feel right. Yet society wants to pull you in that direction, and helping people to see themselves, see whatever you believe God is, whatever that oneness is. That's it, man. That's the key,
Absolutely. I was telling my wife the other day, I'm like, it's almost looking at a bunch of kids on a playground that don't know how to get along. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's still children in their consciousness, and they just don't know how to get along. It's like you do not know self, so therefore you cannot know others.
Right.
And our higher self, God, source, whatever you want to call it, is looking down like, no, children, play nice. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna have to play nice.
Exactly. It's like, realize what is yours is his, and what is his is yours. And there is no difference. All these little lessons that we give children as adults, we don't abide by those.
I got to step away for 1 second on that, because it's true. I got to shut this door. Get the studio thing worked out. This remote studio worked out. Yeah, so we are being forced to play nice. I like that metaphor. I mean, it's true, and sometimes it's best just to let the kids go at each other, because they're not going to learn otherwise. Put them in timeout all you want, they're going to come back out and still do the same thing.
Yeah, I think the problem that we're having now is we believe what we believe, and even though if it's not true, we still believe it. And I think people on a subconscious level don't want to lose their way of life or their position. So not consciously doing things to preserve their position, but at a subconscious level. They don't even know why they're doing the things they're doing. I mean, the basic common kindness in treating people with respect is all gone right now. You know what I'm saying? The basic things that people should get, that everybody should agree on, we're still not even agreeing on that.
You know, and it's because, and that's, I don't know if you read the write-up that I did coming in. Oh, Joe's in the waiting room. Steve, can you let him in? I don't know how to let him. Let me see.
Yeah, I don't have the power to do that.
I got it.
Thanks.
I got the power. Did I get the power?
I got the power.
Hey, Joe, how's it going? There's audio kicking. I want to stay on what you were saying though. In that write-up, that's why I think the conversation that needs to be had. Oh, Derek's here. Got the whole crew in now. Can you hear me, Joe? Joe, that's Monk, or I don't know where he is on your screen. That's Steve up there to me. We can't hear you. You're muted. How's it going, Derek? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. How you doing, man?
Good.
It was
Joe, Derek.
Where's my
Monk,
audio?
Steve.
Nice to meet you, gentlemen.
Hey
Yeah,
guys.
so we were just, do you want to run that last part back, Monk?
which part was it? Which part
You were
was
talking- You were talking about we don't even know that we're even trying to self-preserve. We're just doing
it?
these
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I think the issue is everybody's trying to hold their position,
Right.
whether it be on a subconscious level or a conscious level. They don't want to lose their place in their pecking order. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
when you feel like your life is going to change in a certain way, even if it's subconsciously, you do things to hold other people back or down. Like equal to you doesn't mean equal. It means like you're losing your position. And I know people personally that I never thought they would say or do the things that they have done right now.
Yeah.
They're doing it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I never thought of you as that. But, you know, fear can do a lot of things to a lot of people. And it can make you act in a very negative way.
It's the most powerful influence. That's what it all is right now. It's fear. You say that people not doing things you thought were possible. I was just at Auschwitz with my kids. It was in August of last year. And you know, I want them to be educated. I said, you don't need to fear this, but you need to know that when humanity goes unchecked, this is the possibility. Do you think this could happen? No, I don't think it. Not today. Not today. I don't think it could happen. I remember saying that in August, and 7 months later, I'm like, could happen. You know what I mean? Like it blew my mind to it hurt to have that revelation that we're so caught in our defense mechanisms, our fear, that we can't see past. I keep saying we because we're all one, right? But I think people that are on this, we're a little bit more conscious than that. So, you know, we're having these conversations to try to maybe spark it in somebody else's mind that, well, maybe I'm not seeing that part of me. You know what I mean? Because until you see that part of you, there ain't no helping out there. It's not possible because you're living in your defense mechanisms, no matter what, subconsciously or consciously. Traditionally, it's subconsciously. You know, and there's a study, 95% of everything we do is controlled by our subconscious mind, only 5% by our conscious mind. So I think it's something like 40,000 neurons per second, as opposed to 40 million neurons per second. So that's where mindfulness comes into play, because if you're not being mindful of that faulty subconscious programming that we all possess, it's gonna run you. It's like driving, you know, you got that routine driving home and you doze off and all of a sudden you're at your exit, right? You just knew to get off. You didn't get any car accidents, but you could have, you know. We're all walking around in autopilot, and our autopilot's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't programmed right, you know, and I don't know that it was supposed to be. You know, that's what I battled with. It's like, is this really just what the human condition is? Is this, you know, to transcend at all costs? You look at a guy like Viktor Frankl, who was in the concentration camps and came out and created logotherapy, or you look at, Harriet Tubman or Martin Luther King or Jesus Christ, or, you look at all these people, and there's so few, right? That we know of anyway. But is that what it is? And do we keep coming back until we hit that level of consciousness? It's a curious thing to me, but I feel like everything that's going on with race, because the race thing is a bunch of trickery. You know what I mean? Like that shit's a bunch of trickery. We're all people, and talk to anybody at a decent level, and we all want the same things. We want our families to be happy. We want to feel good. You know what I mean? We all want the same things for the most part. But we've been convinced to think we're different because of the way we look. It's madness.
Well, I think
people have bought
one
into it.
thing is too is that one thing we can say we've learned from history is that we haven't learned from history.
Exactly.
For some reason, like you just said with your children, you looked at Auschwitz and think, can this happen today? And they're like, no. Now you would think people coming out of the civil rights movement thought we would learn from that, and obviously we haven't. So for some reason, that's one thing we can't see and learn from our past whatsoever. We keep repeating it over and over again, which is the major problem for some reason. Well, we can't see that and learn from it.
Hey, I'm sorry to come late to the party, Vince, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Just to chime in real quick, somebody once told me that all Black folks, well, African Americans, we should all go to Africa and take a look. And the reason why they said that to me was, if you go to Africa, you don't see prejudice. You don't see racism. They said it's the oddest thing, because you see all these Black people and it's like nobody's thinking of the things that some of the brother here on the panels may see. When you go to your homeland, so to speak, it's the norm to be Black. And you would think, after how many years have we been in this country, you would think that that would be the norm here. But they said to me, go back, go if you get a chance, go to Africa, and you would it's a whole different feeling. And they basically said that over here, it's almost a brainwashing, you know what I mean, as far as Black men and white, and the Black community, so to speak. And like I said to you, Vince, before, we're the only African Americans, we don't have a culture. Mm-hmm. We're like the only ones here in the country. We don't really have an identity, so to speak.
Right.
We've been robbed of that. Exactly. So they said, go back to the homeland and see, and they just said it's like the craziest thing, because being a Black man or a Black woman or a Black child, this is something that we're taught. This is something that we're taught coming up. You got to be above and beyond. You got to do more than everybody else. You're going to be looked at a certain way. But when you go there, we are the norm. And that just kind of struck me a little bit, because what I mentioned to them was, well, I think even Africans would probably look at someone like myself a little differently, because I'm not a true African. You know what I mean? So it's until that day where we stop having first in this country, the first Black president, the first Black senator of, Alabama or what have you, we're still in 2020 still having first. Yeah. So we've got a long way to go.
I'm gonna chime in real quick. I think the reason why that nothing has changed, even though we've seen the horrible things that happened in the past, there has to be a shift in consciousness. Mm-hmm. I watched my dad grow. While my dad got killed when I was about 4 years old, but I heard stories about him, and I heard he was this certain type of human being, and I didn't want to be that. Guess what I ended up being? Exactly that. Yeah. Right. This was my program. Yeah. This was my program. Yeah. And we take our program and we give it to our kids, and they give it to their kids, and so on and so on. And the cycle can only be broken at a consciousness level. Yeah. Absolutely. I can tell a dope fiend, hey, this is killing you. Are they going to stop? No,
Exactly.
they're not gonna stop. I can tell my child, hey, unless they see what I'm doing, they see how I'm living. If that's the program I gave them, I told my daughter the other day, I said, her name's Ishiana. I said, look, we're all programmed till we realize we're not, that's not who we are. All of us, no matter what the program is. I said, my program I gave with you was unconditional love, and I just stepped out the way, right? Still, you do not know who you are, but one day you're gonna realize, boom, it's gonna hit you. That's what I am. So it's not gonna be going from one thing to the other. It's just gonna be a realization that I am this love.
Right.
So with other people's programs, I was dysfunction. I was alcoholism. I was poverty. That was my program. So once I realized that was my program and I came out of that, it was such a contrast. I was like, ooh, I thought I was something different. That's why I was drugging. That's why I was drinking. That's why I was violent, because this was my program. Now, who we really are is love. So the contrast from that to love is like night and day, right? So what we do to our children is show them what we are, and then eventually they're gonna connect to that. And it is not a big shift. It's not like, oh, I gotta find myself. It's like, oh, there I am.
Right, there I am.
There I am. The consciousness has to change. That's why we can look at these terrible things and they can happen again and again and again, because nothing has changed on the level that change is created. You can't go at the same problem with the same consciousness. You're going to get the same result. And this is where we are. And I think this world right now is birthing a new consciousness, and its birthing process is painful. Yeah. This is what's happening right now. Everybody got to own their own shit right now.
Yeah.
Look within yourself. See the hate that's coming up. See the anger that's coming up. Where are you standing? What do you need to look at? What do you need to heal from? What do you need to let go?
What you're talking about is key. That's we can get caught up on words, right? Alcoholism, racism, sexism, these are all terms to describe certain patterns of behavior, but at the core of it all is trauma. So your body doesn't know what racism is or sexism. Does it? It just we all have different triggers, right? But the response is trauma. And in the trauma response, and I know this because through my battles with PTSD, and what it took for me to come out on the other side is that, I would always intellectualize. I thought I could use my logic when I was triggered to pull myself out of it, but you can't, because once you're stuck in your amygdala, and your amygdala can't push up to the neocortex and get it up to the frontal lobe where it can actually make some human decisions, it stays there. And depending on the level of trauma you've experienced and the trigger, it gets pushed back down into the fight or flight mechanism, into your reptilian brain. You're incapable of making human choices at that point. So and that's how most of these conversations go. When you see people just going at each other and they're not making any sense, they're just trying to push their agenda down each other's throat. It's them defending themselves because in their head, they feel the threat of death. Like for me okay, say I heard white privilege 5 years ago. So hearing that 5 years ago, I would have had this visceral response, like, because I grew up poor as fuck. And I would have took offense to that. My gut response is to everybody's trying to get me, right? So the visceral response is defend myself. And I wouldn't have even thought to ask questions, because the space that I had between stimulus and reaction was nil. You know what I mean? It took nothing for me to go into fight or flight. And literally, I felt like I was fighting for my life. I'm in fight or flight, but I'm not. Somebody just said a term that kind of, I didn't think to look into it, and I'm fighting it now. And now, and that's what's happening out there is people aren't having conversations to where they can unpack all this stuff, because things mean different things, but words at the end of the day are just words. It's that shift in consciousness. For me to be able to have conversations that I can have now, I had to isolate the visceral response to make sure I didn't go into fight or flight. So fuck the words. What's that feeling? Like now, almost second nature. As soon as I feel that gut response coming up, because it still does, I don't succumb to it. But when I feel it coming up, I identify it, and then I don't have to ask myself so much anymore if it's real, because 99% of the time it wasn't. It had no basis in that current reality. So now it gets me off the ledge. you know, and if I have to leave a situation, walk out of a conversation, cool off or whatever, that's what I'll do. It took a lot of trauma to get to the point to where I wanted to do that work on myself, to be able to get to the place where I am today, to where it's not like I don't get triggered. I still feel it. It just doesn't control me. And in order for that to happen on a grand scale, we need to create safe places where we can argue over what you know, we think this is or that is, but we don't have to fight over it. We don't have to call names. You know what I mean? You got to create that safe space where people can be wrong with each other. And then people will start talking. They'll start having these conversations and maybe we'll get somewhere.
I want to chime in on that part. And you know, Vince, I agree with you. To a certain level, I agree. But what I always say is, you know, when you're the one that's being oppressed,
Right.
you know what I mean? I don't think you can put everybody in the same category and just say, well, you know, people do have to change their consciousness. But more importantly, when you're the one being oppressed, and when I say oppressed, I mean Black folks right now. Our mindset is, and again, I won't try to speak for the other panelists, but I'll speak for myself. These things have been going on, like I've said before, since, I mean, in the 1700s, and we still haven't got to a resolution. And I'm sure along the way, people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, people much smarter than myself, you know, they both had two contrasting ideals of how to get to the solution. And then once Malcolm made his transformation, he kind of agreed a little bit more with Martin Luther King. But again, when you're the one being oppressed, as opposed to the oppressor, we're going to have two different views on things. We don't have to, how can I say this? It's not about us changing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not about us changing. It's about the oppressors, the ones that's doing the oppressing, for them to come to that level of consciousness.
Right.
For them to say, hey, like you said, Vince, 5 years ago, this conversation may be a little different. So other white folks got to have that same come to Jesus meeting and say, wait a minute, you know what? In the Bible, well, you know, the Declaration of Independence says that all men are created equal. And like I mentioned to you, the Declaration of Independence was not inclusive of me because they didn't look at people like me as a man. You know what I mean? So
as a human,
you know,
yeah.
You know, when you look at these monuments and people out there, why do we get so mad at, you know, them? Why do we want to tear down these monuments? Why do we want to change the names of this, you know, this baseball team? You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, the oppressors get more upset than we do. How dare you take a knee against police brutality? How dare you get mad that George Ford had a knee put on his neck?
Yes, that's what's insane is that's insanity, because when we came to America, white people, well, it wasn't me, I'm Sicilian, so I was
right.
But when white people, I lump myself in because I look the same. When white people came to America, what were they running from? Oppression, right? And what did they do? They lashed out. They killed people. They killed the people who inhabited this land. I think taking down the statue is moderate in comparison. I mean, but where's the point where, and we go back to the lack and limitation that so it's really, they're just scared. Like when they're like you said, Monk, it's this fear that something's being taken from them. What? You can ask them what, they can't even tell you. It's so programmed, so fucking programmed up here that they can't even let it go. They feel like they're being, when I go into fight or flight for something stupid because somebody made fun of me in school, I remember it. I thought I was going to die. It was the worst pain I could possibly experience ever. And I would kill you over it and I would die for it. It was disgusting, you know but it was me. So I relate, you know, I'm not that far removed, but I relate. But how?
You said a key. The Europeans came in and stole this country from Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To escape oppression.
Well, right. But they slaughtered the Indians, this land,
Yeah.
Now they're upset in their mind at this point, thinking someone is taking something from them
They
that
want
they
to knock down
never
a statue
owned,
and protest.
that they never entitled to own.
Right.
And that's where the sense of entitlement comes from. That's when we talk about white. I mean, believe it or not, again, this has been going on for way before I was here. You know what I mean? So when we talked about, and I know Vince, we talked about, Thomas Jefferson and Lincoln. We as Black folks, we were taught that these were all great men.
We all
But
were.
what made them great? They founded a country, yes, but Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. George Washington owned slaves. Abraham Lincoln didn't free us because he didn't think that we were equal. It was economics. So again, we were brainwashed to think that all these men were great. And now President, I've never called him the president, but Trump, now he's pissed off because, you know what? People are being taught the truth in school now. We can't have that. So again, we've got a long way to go, man. I'll let everybody else chime in on that.
Can I add on something on that?
Yeah.
I think those are a lot of great points, and I'm a huge believer in us taking our focus and putting it on the system rather than the result. And what I mean by that is that whether it comes to our government, whether it comes to our societal problems like racism, whether it comes to our police force. I mean, obviously, the way we're addressing things and having things run in this country is not working.
Exactly.
It's simple. So, and that's one way I look at Trump, is that he's the perfect example of what our system is. It was like that boil that came to a head.
The epitome.
We always knew it was there. We always knew it was there, and you can't honestly say that he's the first president that we think is racist. He's the first president and that. He's basically the epitome of everything that was wrong with our system coming to a head and shining it right in our face. So that's why I say we can't buy into this. Like I was raised Democratic. I was raised in a Democratic household, and I was always, given this view upon how Republicans were against Black people and against this, and the Democrats were for these people. But as I got older and I experienced more and more, I saw more commonalities in between the two, and I felt bamboozled. I felt like the only difference with the Democratic Party was that they used that leverage. They came out and said they used that leverage. They used that, we're the Democratic people, we're for the Blacks, we're for the Mexicans, and basically they're all full of shit. Basically, it's a two-headed dragon that I see up there. I don't see Biden any different than Trump. The only difference is Biden isn't stupid enough to say the shit that Trump says. He hides behind that. And I'm fed up with both of them. Malcolm X made his great analogy, metaphor, however you want to put it, when explaining conservatives and liberals. He said, both will show you their teeth. The conservative is the wolf. He'll show you his teeth and letting you know where he stands. While the liberal will be the fox, and he'll show you his teeth too, but he'll smile to let you know, to make you think but both of them will eat you at the same time. And I think that's really coming to a head to the point where this two-party system, this good cop, bad cop scenario, people aren't buying it anymore, man. I'm not buying that shit anymore. I'm definitely not. Leverage that anymore.
Who do you vote? What do you do?
See,
you're gonna vote, right?
Here's the conundrum.
Okay.
Here's the conundrum. I don't buy, and I'm sick of this because I've heard this ever since I was born. If you don't vote for this person, you're voting for the other. Because at some point, you have to put your vote somewhere else. You have to start somewhere, or you continually are in that machine of, well, if you don't vote for this person, you're going to vote for this, because the lesser two evils only go so far, because at some point, there is no lesser. At some point, there is no lesser of evils. That whole lesser of evils is like, well, I don't totally agree with this guy and he's bad too, but you compare him to the other one. That they've been scamming us with that philosophy forever. And that's why me and Vince have been talking about, the people party. there has to be a break in the system somewhere to where we actually put up some kind of revolt, some kind of resistance to where we will not participate in the system anymore. And that's why we have to come together and actually do something. And you know what, the first step is the first step, whether no matter what you do, no matter whether you think that first step is going to win the first time or not, you have to make that first step. You can't just keep sitting back and falling into the same system and then complaining about the outcome.
You know
So
what? I totally hear you. And I look, if the systems work for minorities, it would be better already. It's been going on since day one. We know that. We're still the highest incarcerated. We're still the most killed. We're still all of it, right?
I agree.
But you have to understand, there have been groups that tried to get out of this system, and this government killed those people.
Yeah.
I agree with you
They
too.
killed those people. So we have understood how these parties run things for a long time, and every
Right.
time they either get demonized or demonized then killed. And people always want to talk about, especially people that don't really agree with the protesting. Oh, what would Martin Luther King? He was the most hated dude in America.
Okay.
He was the most hated and dangerous dude in America, but they're quick to quote him as far as a peaceful this and a peaceful that.
Right.
And the other thing that really bothers me is when people that you can tell by what they post and what they do, they really don't give two shits about Black people, always get a Black conservative face to make their point. That bothers me so much. Look at this Black person. He agrees with me. See, I'm not racist. See, I am not racist. See this person right here? They're Black. I couldn't be racist if I agree with this person.
That's the most toxic.
That bothers me so much.
Yeah, it's toxic. You know, I can't stand seeing it, and you're as a white person, you're in an awkward position because you know, you just told me there's no racism. I can't argue with. Like, I'm gonna stop here. I got to back out of this conversation. But
well, Vince, we've had slave guys that used to help the slave traders that looked like that were Black folks back then. It ain't changed.
Yeah,
you're always going to have certain individuals in any race that's going to, you know, go against the grain. So we understand that as Black folks, we get it. You know what I mean? Candace Owens, she's just another example of it, man. Yeah. When Herman Cain died, you haven't heard nothing more from Republican Party about Herman Cain.
So think about this, because if we can keep this on trauma, everyone's traumatized. Everyone's traumatized, and at the end of the day, everything is a cry for love. No matter how twisted and disgusting. If you're a Muslim jihadist cutting somebody's head off in a cave, there's a cry for love there, believe it or not. You know, for acceptance, for, you know, no matter how twisted, they were born into that. So you look at somebody like Candace Owens, right? And her whole life has been propagated on this image that she is untouchable, she's tough, and so what does it mean to her to admit that that racism exists, right? She's now vulnerable. She can't do that because she'll crumble. It's like, I could never tell anybody. I couldn't go home and tell my parents that somebody picked on me in school because they thought I was something different. I was always trying to prop myself up and be a tough guy. And if I let you know I'm vulnerable, you can get me. You can do this. You know, there's always a fear of a threat of death in my house when I was a kid, like a genuine threat of death. And so I was always protecting myself from that. I didn't know it. Like Monk said earlier, living out that program, had no idea. I didn't even know I was angry. I thought that this was just normal shit. But I could, it took me, I don't know how long it took. I mean, junior year is when I finally started getting the confidence to say, well, something affected me in a negative way and not feel like I was going to be dismantled because of it. And not to say sympathize with her because she's toxic and she needs to be held to a standard, right? Okay, you want to say these things, you got to defend them now. But I think Joe Rogan's excellent at dealing with somebody like her. Just keep asking questions, and they crumble. You know, I watched her crumble under.
Well, but see, the thing is, now she's found her niche.
Well, she did. Yeah, she did.
Now she makes her money.
Yeah,
so it's not about truth anymore. It never was. Remember,
right.
Candace Owens was the same person that the NAACP helped when she had a I think she had a lawsuit or something. They
Yeah,
came,
yeah, yeah.
right?
They
came
came to her aid.
Yeah, they came to her defense.
She took money from them, yeah.
Exactly. So this is more of a money grab right now. This is not about her trying to find truth. She knows the damn truth. Are you kidding me? She knows the truth. But if she tells the truth, that cuts off her money. See, people will sell them souls. We've been doing it forever. People will sell their souls for that almighty dollar.
When they sell their soul, do you think they know the truth, or have they blocked?
Oh, definitely. I truly believe Candace Owens knows the truth, but she's found her niche. It's no different than a preacher that knows he's full of it and he's fooling his congregation. They come to find out that he's sleeping with, this person or this person.
Yeah.
So he's got to still uphold this image, he's still got to, because if he all the things that he's come with, that him being that pastor, go away. Candace Owens knows better than that. Trust me. But again, she's found her niche, and a lot of people will sell out. She's not the first, and she won't be the last.
What are some of the worst behaviors any of us can think? There's things that I did when I was a kid that are fucking unfathomable to me now. And if I ever saw my kid doing it, you know what I mean? I'm of higher consciousness now, so I wouldn't flip out in the way that I think I would have maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But there's things things I said, things I did, things I was involved in that I'm like, how? Like, how could I have not known better? I had to have known better, but I didn't. I didn't know better because my trauma responses were pulling me. You know what I mean? Those subconscious defense mechanisms, I lived in a state of autopilot. Yes, you might have time at night or in a jail cell, which is where I got a lot of time to contemplate, right? Got some things coming back. Now I'm thinking about some shit because there's no subconscious drive to pull me. I'm stuck in my cell at night. And when I come out during the day, I'm back in subconscious mode, right? I got to be the baddest spades player or whatever. And I'm back, trying to protect whatever's mine in this little space. But then I get back in there and it's all you got is you to think in your thoughts. And that's the only time, and Monk, you can attest to this, when you sit in silence, that's when you can actually get in touch with yourself. You know what I mean? And most of us don't. We don't even try. We're just firing off.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, you got to steel yourself to be receptive. I mean, if you're always moving, you know what I'm saying? If you're always in the past or in the future and you cannot connect to what's happening right now, then you're not going to be able to change. You're always going to be living that old story. And during my alcoholic years, I felt that alcohol got me to a state of presence, but it was kind of a state of presence, but it was a false sense of presence. So now I'm intoxicated though, but feeling present. So I'm not connecting to anything, right? But I'm not worried about yesterday and I'm not worried about tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Then what happens is after that, you come back and you swing back the other way on the hangover. Now you're physically ill, spiritually bankrupt, mentally hurt. And so what do? The reason why I drank is to get to a place where I could even tolerate myself and my own thoughts. It was the only thing that made me feel comfortable, like at ease at all. Like if I had something going on, I drink and I'd be like, I'm cool. Life is good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Life is good. It's because I was suppressing and repressing all this stuff I needed to heal from. And when it come up, it's uncomfortable, makes you feel anxious, makes you feel depressed. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to deal with that right now. Let me push it back down. So it gets to a point where it's going to express itself one way or another, whether it's violence or some crazy act that you never thought you was capable of. It's going to come out when the pressure gets too much, you're going to explode. However that looks, can look many different ways, right?
Looks like this. Looks like America right now.
Yeah, right. When that pressure gets when it gets too much, it's gonna explode. It's gonna reveal. You're gonna reveal yourself. I'm waking up in dorm rooms with just my drawers on underneath the table. You know what I'm saying? Just crazy. Just like, how did that happen? Blacking out, waking up with strangers, and just like, what's going on? See, this is when I had to keep drinking more and more and more and more to still maintain that same peace, which it wasn't no peace, but I just needed to be constantly medicated. because I did not want to deal until, I told you, you heard my story, my body started breaking down. And then it almost forced me either go ahead and check out, like you're going to die if you don't stop, or face this shit you've been ducking your whole life. And that's when I started meditating. And that's when I was able to sit and to receive and to purge, to let go, to heal, and then to grow and to create something new besides those old patterns that I used to live by.
And how do we get people to that point with it? Because I know people grow two ways, choice or trauma, right? Is that there's really no in between it. And I didn't wake up one morning and say, you know what? The way I lived pretty much up until now has been fucked up. Like it was all wrong. I just it didn't happen like that. It took several near-death experiences. And then the birth of my son. Well, it was the birth of my son, quantum physics, and ketamine, psychedelic therapy. Those three things combined, what a freak fucking thing to happen at this time, because I was gonna die. Like I couldn't figure myself out. I hadn't been diagnosed with PTSD yet. I didn't know that I was living this pattern out. I couldn't, because I was always in fight or flight. Like there was no logic. I thought I had it, and that's called intellectualizing. I could spout off some shit. I knew what meditation should do for me, but I couldn't sit with myself long enough to get it right because I was too embarrassed to not be able to do it. Like I would judge myself. I'm with me in a room. Nobody's looking at it. I couldn't fucking be there because I was like, I fucking suck at everything. You know what I mean? And walk out and then go act like a tough guy. I mean, and that's, because I experienced that and because I'm on the other side of it now, I get it, and I highly recommend, we're going to have a roundtable on this book. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. Best book I've ever read on trauma. So I knew what I knew through cognitive processing therapy, and I knew how to get myself out of the trauma response up into my functioning brain. But I didn't know the mechanisms of that. So I was still a little off in the way that I interacted with people. I could still be judgmental. And I caught myself a lot of times saying, how could you think that when a year ago I thought that? You know what I mean? Like I got to bring it back. I got to bring it all back in here and be honest. Like Monk said, you got to fucking deal with your shit, man. And if we're not ready to put our shit out there, why should we expect anybody else to? They're hiding from us like we're hiding from them. So I had to be ready to put my shit out there and ready to take some lumps, and that's what this is. Like, I'm ready to take these lumps for the greater good, and I think a lot of people need to get to that point to where it's like, let's put ourselves out there and take it. But for me to get there, man, I'm lucky to be alive. Like, so I think it's conversations like this is one way, catching them when they're kids. My kids meditate, we have conversations on race and quantum. I would like that. They don't get that. That don't make any sense to them. They're like, what the hell? And then, but now you got to explain it to them. And they're like, well, that's stupid. And you know what I mean? They're on with their lives. So I have hope for them, but you got to catch them when they're young. But what do we do about us? You know what I mean? Because what do we do about us? Because I'll talk to my mom sometimes, and she's stuck in her trauma responses. We don't fight over it. You know what I mean? And there's things she can't remember when I was a kid that I remember. I remember that my dad did. And the brain's a powerful tool, man. It works hard to protect us. And there's things that get suppressed, and you can't remember them. It wasn't until I had that experience after my son, and I got on this spiritual path, that I started remembering shit. I'm like, oh, and it was like a dream at first. And then I started remembering things from the past, and then I started to piece it together. And then eventually I saw the guy I denied, my father, that I said I'll never be anything like him. I was him, just in a different way, like subtle. I'm not punching her. I'm just cussing her out. So that's okay, because it's not that, you know what I mean? Like I would always contrast like that. I think that's how we all live, to a certain extent. I think we all live like that, and we get stuck. And if somebody isn't willing to step up, that's what Martin Luther King did. He was willing to step up and help get you unstuck, and he died, but I mean, kill me like that, honestly, like that's that's what life is to me. You know, that he was to me, we've talked about the man. He taught me what the Bible meant, you know, because I couldn't understand the parables as a kid, but the way that man lived was that illustration of unconditional love. He was a hero to me. So I'm not the only one, you know what I mean? Like he did a lot, and he was also very smart, you know, the way he could turn those cameras when the time was right. And you think about it, the things that people are spouting off today to fund the police, that's triggering. You could have come up with something better than that. It doesn't even mean that. Could have come up, you know what I mean? Civil rights. We can get behind that. You know what I mean? We can get behind that. That guy was brilliant. He was brilliant. You know, we need somebody out there working those cameras, you know, tugging at the heartstrings, because all the fighting, it's just going to keep it. It's, you know, when you go after Trump, that's his playing field. That's where he's comfortable. So now you've just justified every thought he had about you trying to get him. You know what I mean? Or anybody else who opposes on racism or whatever. Like you give them power in their playing field, and then we don't get anywhere.
Well, you give him power to the people that empower him, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think where the change comes in at, as far as Black folks are concerned, is economics. We're so concerned on the presidential race where we forget about the local races. You've got to get people in there that are committed to making change. Because one thing that I sincerely believe, when a person has hatred in their heart, that's something they got to come to Jesus on. There's nothing that Vince, unfortunately, you can do, I can do, the other two panelists that can do. There's something that they have to come to grips with themselves on certain things. You know, and that's just the bottom line, because some people don't even know why they hate you. They don't even know why. You know, at the end of the day, and that's the sad part about it. And the scary thing is, like Trump, for example. Okay, they say he got COVID. Okay, now he's trying to get out. Now he made the statement that, guess what? It's not that bad. Hey, you know, things they're doing for me were great. And he's feeding his narrative to these people.
The cartoon character.
Derek,
go ahead.
as soon as I heard he had COVID, I posted something like, I don't believe it.
Either did I.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that shit for one bit, not 1 minute.
Oh man, wag the dog.
By Biden again.
Wag the dog.
Yeah.
And now that all this other stuff is coming out, stuff ain't matching up. I'm like, it ain't matching up. His whole story don't make sense.
Come on.
The whole story don't make sense. That's the thing. See, I think what we're doing is beautiful, right? It's not the message, right? It's the delivery.
Bingo.
It's not the message. How are we delivering? If we deliver a message that's true from a place that's not going to be beneficial, it's not going to be beneficial.
Not gonna be bad.
And that's what I say. I try to keep my energy. I try to keep my love. Even if it's something I disagree with, I'm going to send it to you on a platter with some love on the side. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to go argue with you. I'm not going to be hateful with you, because I know that hate is not really who you are. I know that. No matter what you do, no matter how evil your actions are. Donald Trump doesn't know who he is. I promise you. Think about this. His father was him. His father was cutthroat business dude, stepped on people, didn't pay people. What does he do?
Same thing.
He thinks he can do no wrong. He thinks he can do whatever he wants and treat anybody how he wants to treat people. He disrespects every single person on the planet besides the white male. And if they have a problem with him, he disrespects them too.
Well, let me ask you this, brother. So, and I hear what you're saying. Trust me, I get it. Because, you know, I may come off as being militant. Vince has been knowing me probably for 30 years now. And, but at some point, I don't know, you know, you have kids or whatnot. At some point, you know, I come from a Christian family. You know, I was brought up a Christian and you know, don't take Christ-like, be Christ-like and do certain things. But as I've gotten older, at some point, where do you say, yeah, you can love thy enemies, but my enemies are trying to kill me?
Okay, no, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Derek. I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
He don't know who he is.
Yeah,
You
but,
see what I'm saying?
what I'm saying is, what you made the point of, you know, you're not going to waste the energy of debating or arguing with people, and I totally agree with that. But what I'm saying is, at some point, we've been having these same. This is nothing new. These conversations have been going on. My mother, bless her heart, she died when she was 67, so she would be in her 80s now. So she was born in the 30s. She couldn't go to the water fountain, the same water fountain.
Absolutely. So what's the question? At what point, what?
The question is, at what point do we say enough is enough as a people?
Right now.
Okay.
Right now. I'm not saying we don't say that.
Okay.
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
Well, you know what's
No,
different
I'm not
though
saying
now?
get slapped and just keep it moving.
Okay,
I'm
right,
not saying get stepped
right.
on and shot and abused and keep it moving. No, this is time.
There you
Right
go.
now. Enough
Yeah.
is enough.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is,
But see, when we say that as Black folks, we're looked at, those are dangerous Negroes. They're militant. They're the Black Panther Party, who tried to do great things. They said, you know what? Hey, we're gonna pick up some arms. We gotta protect our people.
Yeah.
They wasn't saying we just gonna go outside killing white folks. So anytime that we try to protect ourselves, empower ourselves, Black Wall Street, you know, when they destroy a city of Black folks that's thriving and striving and say, hey, you know what, we're not going to depend on you. We're going to do it for ourselves. They still get pissed off.
So here's the difference.
Go
Here's
ahead.
the difference now, is their sons and daughters ain't having it either. You know what I mean? Their sons and daughters, they don't know how to steer this revolution in the right direction. They just know it ain't right, and they ain't gonna have it. And it's their sons and daughters. So now, if there isn't a better time than any, it's that we mobilize. You know, mobilize not by separating and going on, but by taking the resources we have at our disposal. Because I mean, with Donald Trump, if Donald Trump gets another 4 years, I think the revolution happens regardless. If Donald Trump gets another 4 years, it could get bloody. If it's Biden, he's another politician, right? But I personally am going to vote against Trump.
And Ben, I don't mean to cut you off, but I got to go to the other brother's point when you just brought up Biden. And again, to his point, Black folks are taught what? Pick the lesser of two evils. We know Biden got some dirt, but damn it, we know Trump is like Lucifer. So, you know, as we don't have that party yet, to your point, that, you know, we can go to. So we do have to, we know Trump is dangerous. We know that. Let's call a spade a spade.
His supporters, the people that vehemently support him. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
And I believe in all my hearts and heart. Yes, Biden may have whatever else in him, but I don't think he's going to do some of the things that Trump is going to do.
You know what the difference between Trump and every other politician is in the recent history is he gives hate groups the green light.
No doubt.
That's the difference. He says hate is good. Yes.
Yes.
Hate.
Yes.
That's the
Have you ever
difference.
read Mein Kampf?
Huh?
Mein Kampf, Hitler's book?
No.
Just go to go look up propaganda, go to Wikipedia, and you're going to see a section of Mein Kampf in there. It's exactly what's happening. You know, you play to the lowest common denominator, and that's what he's doing. It's the exact same thing, the exact same kind of propaganda. And that's the scary part is, so here's my theory, right? So if we can get Biden in there, they still feign to be the party of the people. They still believe that diplomacy has to happen, right? Because they got to win their vote still. They still feel like that.
Correct.
And because they feel like that, and because there's so much inter-party fighting in the Democrats for power, I think that's where, you know, and I have this vision, man. It's like, if we get Trump out of there, get him out of there, get Biden in, not because we like Biden, but because we're going to take down the two-party system, and we're going to do it on fucking day one. We're getting rid of campaign finance. We're coming in with a list of demands. You know what I mean? And it's, let's talk to BLM. Let's talk to, I don't know about Antifa. They're a little bit fucking out there, but maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe all these people that are out there protesting, I think we're all mad at the same fucking government. And somehow we're out here thinking we're separate from one another. But let's show up on Inauguration Day with Biden out there. You ain't speaking until you acknowledge us standing outside of this fucking monument right here. You're going to acknowledge us. And if you don't, we ain't paying taxes tomorrow. And we ain't going to any fucking corporations. See how long you keep your job. You listen to us, you're fucking fired. That's what needs to happen.
Vince, I agree with you, but I think when that should have happened is when we were in the primary, so to speak. I think, you know, you have people like Ice Cube and Diddy talking about now, hey, you know, Biden, you can't get our vote until, no, the time was to do that. It's not now. The time was to do that before. You know, whoever's coming, hey, we're going to stand behind whoever delivers on these things. No one did that.
I don't think you can deliver in this system. I think we got to break it down. I think we got to get rid of campaign finance. I think, you know, Canada has 5 parties. They all get equal airtime. Get the money out of fucking politics and get it back to representing the people. Let the victor have the spoils, right? You know, that's okay. But fuck this shit. It ain't being bought by corporations anymore. That's one of the biggest problems. That's why none of us are represented, except for the 1%, you know? So we get Biden in, we can go out there and we can take the whole fucking dismantle the whole 2-party system. I believe, you know what I mean? Like I have to, because I got kids and I'm not letting them grow up in this shit. They ain't gonna grow up in a world of hate, you know, because if they are, they're gonna die because they're gonna stand up against it, right? Like it ain't happening, not on my watch. So fuck that. I'm ready to stand out there on Inauguration Day. And with this list of demands, amongst all these groups who should be fighting each other, but they're not. They're all standing out here looking at me. Now, you work for us. You remember you work for us. Then the second you stop working for us, no taxation without representation, motherfucker. And I mean, that's where I am. Tell
me how you really feel, Vince. Tell me how you really, tell me how you really feel.
I've always felt that.
Trying to get it out.
Yeah, the taxes. I mean, I've always felt. I mean, number one, there's never been a revolution without bloodshed. We go back to like, at what point is enough enough? And I know, you know, it's a utopian thing to sit here and go, you know, we're going to march and we're going to shout no justice, no peace. And then the very next fucking day, you have a video of another man, woman being killed by a cop or so on and so forth, you know, and they just don't care. And it's like, you know, people get really weird when you start talking about, you know, we've had enough and we're going to fight back. But if you look at it, no true revolution or overthrow of a powerful government has ever happened without bloodshed. And that's just the facts. So if you want to sit there and you want any kind of real impact on changing something, and you want to dox out the violence part, my thing is taxes. And this is something that we would have to do as a whole, because that's the only thing that powers everything. Yeah. We give the government our money to blow on our military. We give them our money and they squander it time and time again. And the only real power they have is our money. And that comes to our government or it comes to the big corporations, because without our money, they have nothing. So until we have the representation or the government or the police force that we need, we don't give them our money anymore. Right. And everyone's like, oh, you're going to go to jail. I mean, what, they're going to put us all in jail?
Right.
Why do we continually fund the corrupt government or the police force or whoever it is? We continually give them our money to fuck us over and over again. Because that's the one thing. If you don't have the money, you don't have the guns to shoot us. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money to buy the jets and buy the tanks and buy whatever else the fuck it is that you're going to keep us squandered and keep us pressed down no matter what when we're walking down the street and you're shooting us. That's the thing. But to get everyone on the same page is that. But it would be really simple. If you don't want these corporations to succeed like Amazon, they make billions of dollars and don't pay any taxes and fuck people over, you don't use Amazon. You vote with your money and you have control over your money. And that's the one thing that would ultimately cripple them without even having to raise your fist, without having to walk down the streets and be blowed over by cops or the FBI, the CIA agents they send in and haul you off in, because you're never going to win that way because they got us on that.
And you know who we rally? We rally our local police departments, because they're citizens just like us. We get them behind us. We, you know, from the ground up, we gotta get authority behind us somehow. You know?
I don't know about that, Vince. I'm just being honest with you, bro. I don't know about that because I know black cops that can't say Black Lives Matter.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand that. I'm not saying everyone.
No, I know what you mean, but,
Yeah.
but I like my man's point though, because that's something I said earlier. I said economics. Economics still don't change your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can say, you know what, we're not going to support Amazon. Yeah, we're going to break up these corporations, and that's still not going to change anybody's heart.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at to this point. It's like, I can't change your heart, but I can affect your pocket. Black people are the #1 consumers in this United States. If we came together and said, you know what, if we really focus on doing this, not for a day and have a blackout, if we did like they did in the 60s, and had that bus boycott, but in our terms or whatever that is today, and really stick true. That's why they made a change then, because they stuck to it. Not we marched for a week and then all right, we back to normal. It's got to be organized. It's got to be with a goal in mind, having people together and really and to your point, Joe, that's the way that you affect change. You're not going to change nobody's heart, but you can change the way things are done. You can get police reform done. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
It's having the right people in place and having a collective, people really on the same page. Say, you know what, we're going to do this. And when we do this, there's going to have to be some sacrifice involved. See, we have people that we boycott or we march, like I said, for a week or two, and then we go back to our normal lives.
Yeah. A weekend warrior revolutionary.
Weekend warrior.
Well, first of all, with the police, because everybody always talks about the police. Shoot, if they just got punished the way they should get punished for committing crime, the bad ones would go. There wouldn't be any. It's that simple. It's that simple. As soon as they commit a crime, they cannot be rehired by another police department anywhere. Their career is over with.
But let's take it beyond that. They killed someone that was innocent. The same thing that would happen to me.
Oh no! I'm saying crime in general.
I got you.
Right.
But I'm saying they have to have the same consequences, if not more.
Right.
Because guess what?
They're held to a higher standard.
People talk about black on black crime, but if a brother in the street comes and breaks in my house, guess what? Hey, I damn near get it. I don't expect the cop to do it. They got to be held to a higher standard.
Mm-hmm.
They, like you said, our tax dollars pay their salaries. So yes, I agree with everything what Joe said. We on the same page, bro. Yeah, that's where you kill. That's where you make change, is with economics. That's where, you talk about when people say just shut up and play ball. Yeah, guess what? Yeah, they're wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts during the games and woo. But what would happen if they say, you know what, screw this shit. We're not doing this no more. We're going to form our own leagues.
Exactly.
And that's why, Derek, they did what they did with the league and the NFL. They know that money. They was like, pacify them, give them something, because they getting ready to shut it all the way down. Did you see Keith Smith walk off the set that day?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they don't want.
Yes. And they're still vilified. We're still vilified. What did Charles Barkley say? This is what I talk about when we have the Candace Owens of the world. Charles like, oh man, he shouldn't have. Why did he do that? What? They all should have did it.
Yeah.
But Shaq got his, honorary badge. Chuck got whatever else he got going on. This is what I'm saying. Until when I say we, Black folks and white folks that empathize with us and say, hey, you know what? We're all people. We all have compassion for one another. We're all created in the image of God. Until we all come together on that one accord. But in the interims, hit them in their pockets.
You have to. I mean, that's what it revolves around, and that's one thing that everybody universally can do. I mean, whether they're elderly or whether they're younger, whatever it is, you can always affect them monetarily. I mean, you're going to have people that have families and are, maybe are too scared to protest or walk on the streets or anything like that, as opposed to taking their money and affecting them that way. And what other reason do politicians get in it for? I mean, what other reason would a billionaire run for a job that pays him $400,000 a fucking year? These politicians, they don't get in it for the salary. What other reason would someone become a senator and make 80 grand a fucking year? It's because of the people that they come into and the policies and the people that they are able to do business on the side. How is Nancy Pelosi worth $100 fucking million and her goddamn salary is 200 grand a fucking year? I mean, it's bullshit. So that's what you do. You take it away from them. You take their monetary power away from them. And that's something that all of us can do as a whole. And that's exactly what they want. And it's exactly why they fight to stay in their office, is for the monetary reasons.
Joe, you don't hear from them 3.5 years before the election.
No, you don't hear shit.
You
don't hear shit.
The key as a whole. So as a whole, how do we do it as a whole? I mean, I think
you organize. What you're doing, Vince, right now. You organize. So you organize. You get other people that are smarter than me. You get those people.
Smarter.
You don't have to be smarter. You just have to have enough balls to say it.
Exactly.
There's something special to. There's a blessing to having to have experienced trauma, oppression, and being able to come out on the other side. It makes you special. It makes you stronger. It gives you a superpower that other people don't have. So in this light, I grew up dirt poor, right? I didn't fit in with white people. You know what I mean? I got along with black people because I was in the city and whatever. I came over, crossed 8 Mile, and I felt awkward as shit. Had to fight every fucking day. I was always feeling alienated. But that's neither here nor there. Like through all that and what happened with my dad, through all that bullshit, there came this point where I finally felt something. There was a sense of connection. I wasn't fucking alone anymore. And it gave me superpower. So now I have the ability to look at somebody that I don't agree with. I recognize in their eyes, because of my own experience where the trauma hits, I know we can't have a conversation any longer. I don't have to get mad at you. I can sympathize with that response, as long as you're not. Because I'm to your point, if my back's up against the wall, if you break in my house, I have no problem doing what I got to do to protect my family. But it's got to be imminent danger. I'm not that person anymore. You know what I mean? So it's really got to be that for me. But the only way I think we unify is to look at each other and say, look, maybe my trauma is racism, maybe my trauma is sexism, maybe my trauma, whatever traumatized me the most. Let's look at each other and recognize how fucking painful that is to live with that shit. And then we'll have the conversation later. You know what I mean? But one thing with racism is, in order for trauma to be healed, it has to be admitted. There has to be a safe space for it to come out and be shared, and for somebody to look at you and say, I don't have that experience, but I feel you and I believe you. You know what I mean? And there's too many people denying it in their own fucking trauma. And then there's the ones who would rather have it that way, right? And those are the dangerous ones. Those are the ones that are over there on the right fascism side of things and would like to make America great again. The ones who would really like to make America great again. That's
the problem. You can get rid of Trump, but you still have all the people that supported him.
Bingo.
They're still there.
Bingo.
So here's the ironic thing.
That's the problem. You get rid of Trump, but you still have those people that supported him there.
Correct.
So here's the ironic thing.
What does that do?
Well, no, if Biden gets in office, who do you think is going to, just because they're pissed off, right? They're pissed off because their guy lost. Who do you think comes and joins us in that fight? They may not be our buddies, right? Sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend temporarily, but if we need numbers, they're pissed at the two-party system too. So we're all trying to dismantle it. We may not go have fucking beers afterward, you know what I mean? But for the time being, they're going to unify because fuck that government. You know what I mean? That government took my guy down. I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah, Vince, I hear what you're saying, man, but I think a segment of the population is not, I don't know if it's really the two-party government as opposed to what the government they support, who they support, so to speak. The people that support Trump, and I tell people this all the time,
Ideology. I know what you're saying.
people that support Trump now, I'm through with this debate of if you're this, if you're that. If you support Trump with everything that you've seen, I'm tired of people pretending like, well, God, is he really racist? Are the people that support Trump? It's like I'm not giving anybody that pass anymore. If you support him, screw you. Period. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm because
For a lot of people are.
that's 100 right there. That's where I'm at. I was, at first I was like, well, you know what? I'm trying to see their side. Derek is done with that part of it, bro. I'm more with what Joe said and what you're saying, Vince, as far as people uniting, but I can't unite with someone that hates me.
No, I get that. I get that.
And this is what I'm trying to say to you.
And I don't think the hateful ones, the truly hateful ones, they ain't coming.
Oh, no, they're not coming.
They're not coming to the little corner and regroup.
They're not coming.
Yeah, they'll be plotting some kind of fucking building bomb in Oklahoma.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Oh, let me say something about when Obama was in office. Because you've got people saying, oh man, Obama was just as bad as Trump. Huh? Let me say this. Obama tap danced while he was in office. And what I mean by that, Obama, can you imagine Obama said what some of the things Trump said? Can you imagine if someone said, hey, Trump, are you pro Black Panther? Now this is a group that tried to protect Black folks. He couldn't even say that. When his own pastor that he went to his church, when he talked about the roosters coming home to roost about 9/11. Again, we as Black folks, when we go into office, we have to tap dance. We can't go in and just be all pro-Black. We can't do that. Yeah. We got to play. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We got to, well, I'm the president for all, which we are. But I'm simply saying we can't say some of the same things and do some of the same things they do. Because if we do that, we will never get there. That's a fact.
Eric, I'm going to take it even farther.
Please.
Trump's track record before he became president, Trump's wife, everything Trump's life, that a Blackface would have never even got on the stage to debate to be a president of the United States.
You.
Obama wore a tan suit, almost blew the fucking world up.
Hey, he wanted to give free health care. People complain. Oh man, he's raising my taxes.
Derek, imagine this. Obama has 3 different wives. Obama's a womanizer. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine that. Imagine the field day they would have with a Black president with that record. Well, he never would have been president.
Bone spurs.
Never would have been president. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the privileged part right there. Yeah. There's no way a Black person could ever, on his record, even stand on a debate stage. Period. Bingo. He would have been demonized. I mean, matter of fact, every time one of us gets killed, we get our whole past brought up and justify the killing. You know what I'm saying? Just think. Even Trump's wife, if it would have Obama, that would have been a disqualifier for him. Obama's wife is posing naked in pictures. Oh no, he can't. Well, that's not America. This is not America. What kind of morals does he have? You see what I'm saying?
It's shoulderless
standard. It's crazy.
The shoulder was missing on her dress. Remember how they freaked out about that?
It was the same dress that one of the Kennedy's wife wore.
Yeah.
And they freaked out.
Right.
But this lady up in the bed naked with other women, completely no clothes on, and that's a class. That's class right there. This just blows my mind.
Monk, he was on tape saying, hey, they like it when I grab them by the pussies.
They'll let you do anything you want.
Are you kidding me?
Imagine a Black person, imagine those same people that support him, imagine them with Obama. Imagine Fox News with Obama. Imagine anybody that's with Obama. They have so much ammunition for this dude. He would be Satan himself with Donald Trump's track record.
That's my point. You just brought my whole point around 360. And
With
again,
Trump,
man,
though, you got half of the white population is like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's like that. It's not just like he don't represent me and a lot of us. Like that ain't I don't know what that is.
I mean, it's the monkey. See no evil, hear no evil, do no evil. Melania Trump was just caught on tape talking about the kids that's locked up, and oh God, Christmas is so traumatic. I've got to do this. It blows my mind.
It blows everybody's mind.
And that's what we're talking about being Black in America. That's the whole point. Like Monk said, hey, if we get shot, the first thing people say is, well, let's go check his record.
What did he do?
What did he do 40 years ago to deserve this? Damn it, he did something.
Men did that to women and still do. You know what I mean? Like, what did she do? You know what I mean? It's that gets back to that whole white male patriarchy dynamic that's still, I think it's a dying thing, but it's still, the underbelly's there and it's carrying policy, and that's because I don't, we had the conversation. I don't believe the system is inherently racist, not the system. I think they wrote it. Yeah, they own slaves, but that's what it was back then. I don't know.
But Vince, everybody didn't own slaves back then. There were still people that sympathized and had compassion for other folks.
There were a lot.
Look up John Brown. John Brown. He was a gang.
Exactly. Can you imagine who was the brother name that went on the rebellion and killed all the white folks in what was his name? Nat Turner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See what I'm saying? So people with Nat Turner, some of the people in the Panther Party, they were terrorists because people, they enslaved me, so I'm fighting against them. I'm the one in the wrong.
Yeah.
So
that's America's logic, man.
Listen to this. I'm in Oakland, right? So this is where the Black Panthers came from.
Exactly.
So I was looking up some stuff on Huey Newton today, right? He got killed in 1989 in West Oakland. But people do not realize that the Black Panthers, they didn't just take care of Black people. They took care of poor people. Oh. They set up food programs that are still in place to this day.
Yeah, they used to
They took care of marginalized people. And the only reason why they had guns is to protect themselves. That's it. Second Amendment, just like all them rednecks say, my Second Amendment rights. But it looks different when a Black person is holding the rifle.
Bingo.
You see what I'm saying? Just like those white folks that came up into that wherever they came up, the Capitol building, fully armed, spitting in cops' faces. Imagine that, a group of Black people.
I was saying, imagine if they went to Flint like that. If they went to Flint.
No, I'm saying they wanted the Blue Lives Matter people go up in front of the Blue Lives faces with guns, spitting on them because they don't want to wear a mask. Hella aggressive. Imagine if that was Black people. But some violence would have popped off that day.
But this is where I'm gonna give the white population credit that don't want to wear the mask. What did they do? They got together and said, you know what? We know how to fight this. We're going to go get a petition. Now they didn't help strip the governor of Michigan of her powers to hold for people not to wear the mask. And that's where we've got to get to. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can get pissed off, but to Joe's point, we got to come together and fight them and hit the pockets, man. It's again, we put so much emphasis on the president. Again, being a Black man, shit, what could Obama do as a president if he didn't have control of the Senate and the House? What could he do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You know, and let's talk about the president though. Any president. Yeah. You've got to do some stuff that goes against your morals to even be there. Let's get that straight.
No doubt.
That's why there's certain, like for me, Bernie Sanders is the straightest shooter out there. He always been about that life. He's been in there in the 60s, is marching in the 60s. He's about healthcare. He about all that stuff, the basic needs of the people, all people. And that's why he will never be president.
Never.
Yeah.
He's a socialist.
Right. You have to do something that you don't want to do, special interest, whatever it is, to get to that position of power. So yes, they are all puppets in some sense.
No doubt.
They've all had to do stuff that goes against their core beliefs, right? But like you were saying, when he got there and wanted to do some certain things, he was blocked at every turn.
Every
And
time.
not only that, when Trump get in, he started reversing environmental policies. I mean, he started rolling back relationships with other countries. He started taking everything down that had Obama on it, just like he didn't exist. And that's crazy.
No, he was a target, and that was crazy. He would target somebody. Like he's so petty. He's such a petty narcissist that he would just target his predecessor like that because he was better. Because he was better.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're dealing with. We got a 7th grader in office.
7th? You give him that much credit? I say 5 years old.
I don't think 5-year-olds are allowed to spray tan. I think there's some chemicals in there. But I mean, you know, we can get lost on politics. Politics ain't gonna save us. Anti-politics are, and unity amongst people are. And again, I got to take it back to the trauma response, man. If we don't break through and allow people to be who they were before they get to the space where they want to change, it's never going to happen. You know, this cancel culture shit's got to go. You know, if somebody wants to still be that way, I love you from a distance. Get the fuck over there. You know, you don't, we got something important to handle over here. When you want to join, we're open. But if you keep acting the same way, you don't belong here. Just stay back there and let us do and it's going to help you too. You know, and these conversations, like we're sitting here talking, we're having an open conversation. We can disagree with each other. And we need to. People need to be able to do that. This needs to be opened up to everybody, to where it's like, I didn't live your experience. You didn't live my experience. We're going to have trauma. Here's the one thing. Trauma is trauma is trauma is trauma. Doesn't matter what led to the trauma response is the same in the brain. It's all physiological. It's gonna act the same way. If you're not getting into your past your amygdala, into your neocortex, and up into your frontal lobe, you can't think. It's done. And then if you get pushed back into your reptilian brain, you're in fight or flight. Then you got fight, flight, freeze, collapse. You know what I mean? It's cut and dry. Doesn't matter what the trigger. So if we recognize that in one another, then we can move past the. We always want to compare our trauma to one another. You know what I mean? We want to label this, that, and this, that. I don't think there's any value anymore in labeling anything other than do we want to create change? We do, then we're that. You know what I mean? And then we unify with that, and then we go after the thing that doesn't want to change.
You know, the major problem though, the major problem, and this goes back to a perfect example of the civil rights movement during the 60s as opposed to now, is that we can want change as much as we want, but until the people are ready to sacrifice. Sacrifice. And this and that means everything. And this is what I mean. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, all those people that ended up being killed knew when they were speaking that they were willing to die for what they did. And they did because they knew they were making a change. People now, they want to protest. They want to get on Facebook and post things. They want to march and do things. Even groups like Antifa or the Proud Boys, if you've noticed, you have all these groups that say they're not groups and have no designated leader. No one wants to come out and show their face and say, I'm leading this group, because they're frightened. All they want to do is come out there and cause more problems. You're not getting any change like that. And if you notice, Martin Luther King spoke for everyone to work together. So he was a danger because he wasn't creating separatism. He was creating people to come together. The Black Panthers worked hand in hand with the Weather Underground, which was an all-white revolutionary group from fucking Ann Arbor. All of those guys ended up dead also or in jail. The Black Panthers ended up dead or in jail. Martin Luther King ended up dead. Malcolm X was fine until he went to Islam and came back and changed his site. And all of a sudden, when he was bringing people together, he ends up dead. So the groups that cause problems, they want a Proud Boys. They want an Antifa. They want that.
Right.
Because the first time you get someone like me that was to come out and start the anti-tax group or whatever it was, and I started getting everyone to think that, I'm going to end up dead.
Yeah, they'll try to kill you too.
And that's the problem. That's the problem is that you can get the change and you can do it, but it's going to come with sacrifice. And I don't think people overall have gotten to that point to where they're willing to sacrifice for that, because overall, as Americans, we're spoiled compared to every other country. It's a lot easier to sit back and go for a march and put your fist up, but then go back home and go, okay, I got my job, I got this and that. No one wants to give that up yet. Nobody does. And I truly believe we're not going to have any significant change until we're as a whole willing to do that. And I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening until we do that.
I agree.
Well, you made an interesting point regarding the leadership. Like, there's no, I mean, somebody's got to have the ability to make those speeches. Like,
no, there's nobody out there. Where's our Martin Luther King up today? Where's our Malcolm X up today? Where's our anybody up today that comes out and actually preaches this is enough? We need to work together, and we need to stay vilified until this is done. Because they look back at the 60s and they saw what happened, and no one is at that point. No one is at that point to put themselves out there.
It's a bunch of instant gratification. Go out there, create a little chaos, and boom, we're back. Yeah, we did our activism for the day. You know,
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like it's revolution.
You don't know everybody. There's some people out there that have died for this already.
It's revolution light. This is nothing compared to like the people that did that for the 60s. It's nothing like that.
Nothing like it.
Everyone's just posing. Everyone's just posing and trying to show, oh, I care because I wear this T-shirt. You know, I'm a multi-million-dollar, quarterback, and I'm wearing this on the back of my fucking jersey. It's like, I'm just, it's commercialized, and it gets me upset, man, because
it's almost an in thing to do right now.
Yeah, it's just like it's cool to be revolutionary. Yeah. It's almost like spitting on the people that actually did it.
That would work.
It's very frustrating, man. It's frustrating.
If the movement had direction, that would work. If you
there is no direction, it's like chaos.
You donate to whatever cause, or they donate to whatever cause. You make it tax deductible. You know why they're doing it. Why judge them for it? That we need that. So give it to us. So yeah, if the movement had direction and it was linear, then that would have value. You know what I mean? Because everybody's listening, everybody's watching right now. And while everybody's watching, not that many people are gonna die.
It would also be a threat though, too.
You know what I mean?
It would also be a threat. And then the government would come and stamp that fucker out in a minute. That's the problem. They love the Antifas. They love the Proud Boys. They love all that shit.
They'd have to do it like Portland. And that shit got pulled back real quick. When they went out there, and you know what? I don't know that I don't care what Antifa's doing. Like, that's still illegal to do in America. That's not something you're supposed to do. I don't know the rules of engagement. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I think they wanted to continue with that. I think they would have liked to have continued with that in every city that they possibly could, but they didn't. And there's a reason for it. Everything is, you see everything. So what are you going to do when there's way more of us than there are of them? Some people are going to die. You know, I mean, I don't want to say it.
No, you're right.
But
people are going to die. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's the thing. Until people get that in their head, until people need to be pushed down, you need to experience to be at your lowest before you're ready to fight back. People were at that point in the 60s. People are nowhere near that now.
Nowhere near.
I mean, these kids in Antifa are fucking 22-year-old fucking kids that are home playing video fucking games that are just, that have nowhere to project their fucking anger. So they go out there with fucking hoodies and a stick, and they think they're being revolutionary. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's like, if the shit really hit the fan, those kids would be shitting in their pants and running back to home to mom and dad. The things that we have going on now are nothing and nowhere near the movements that we need to change things. Nowhere near it.
But there's people that don't want change.
Yeah, exactly.
When you compare Obama to Trump, I remember looking at some of Obama's speeches where he was saying some of the same thing Vince was saying. He was like, he was trying to appeal to everybody. He said, hey, you know, white America, we understand you're scared. You're scared that you feel like someone is going to, you know, take some of your jobs or do this and do that. He tried his damnedest above board. I don't know what he did behind cameras, but one thing he publicly stated, he tried to be inclusive of people, and people still hated him. You know, so it just makes me wonder. Like I said, there's a segment of the population that really doesn't want unity. They want the chaos. They don't want to see.
Our government is so great at causing separation.
Yeah.
And this is the reason
Divide and
why
conquer.
can come together. If you can keep people separate, you can control them.
Exactly.
Yeah, divide and conquer. It's much easier to divide them up.
And that's what's going on.
Let them fight amongst themselves.
Yep.
I'm trying. I'm going to organize this shit. If I'm going to push for Biden, not because I think he's a stellar candidate or the DNC is worth a damn, because I was Bernie too. But even Bernie got gobbled up by the system a little bit. But I would have voted for him and campaigned for him. And not because I thought his policies would have been pushed through either. But I thought that was a way to do a peaceful revolution inside the system, right? Like that's what I thought that was, you know, and that's what I think Biden could be. Now, if Trump wins, there's people that really believe he's the guy. Put Jesus up there, they would vote Trump. You know what I mean? Like, so that's scary. Now, a lot of the people that are voting for Biden, they don't want him. You know what I mean? They're like, what the fuck is wrong? Fuck this system. You know what I mean? So, but if we're getting off on but we do need to change. We need to change, and we need to, I mean, I would die for it. You know, I would die for it. Like, and I teach my kids the same thing. Like, it's principles. It's principles. What are we here for? I ain't here to have a comfortable life. I don't need comfort. You know, like it's pretty damn cushy right now. But I've been at the bottom, you know, and I've been at the top, and I don't care where I land, as long as when I land with integrity. And right now, I feel like I've been silent too long. And I can't judge myself for that either, because I was who I was. I was living in this different space where it wasn't until Obama where I thought racism was real again. You know what I mean? I was out of Detroit. I was living in Hollywood. It was all kumbaya. It just wasn't in my little universe, my little fucking bubble. You know, so I didn't think about it. It wasn't a conversation that was being had. So Obama comes in, and I always talk about this, and you start seeing those suits come out, the underbelly. I'm like, holy shit, KKK motherfuckers exist. It was like the movies and shit. Tangate, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And you're blocking everything this guy. What did Mitch McConnell say? Mitch McConnell said, it is our job to block everything this man does. What the fuck? Are we in America? Like, holy shit. Like that, and that's when I was like, it's real. It's like, and even then, it's like, I don't, you know, I'm with the oppressed, right? And what people are gonna find out if we take away the government's race card is they don't give a fuck about any of us. It's the haves and the have-nots. And if we're not being good little worker bees, fuck us too. You know what I mean? So if we ain't unifying now against with the race that's been historically oppressed since day one, we ain't gonna unify. And I keep telling you, I'm like, you're missing the point here, man. You know, you're missing the point, because they'll turn the gun on you in the bunker, in your own bunker, just as quick as they will on us. They don't give a fuck about, you're expendable. You're a number.
Bingo. And if they don't understand that now with COVID, and like I said, with Trump making statements he made today, or even before, when he did the interview and he admitted to the guy, hey, you know what, I had to downplay it. You know, I always knew, but I had to downplay it. You know, if that didn't wake people up, what will? He knew, and even after that, they were still having these massive rallies and, oh, masks don't mean shit. You ain't got to worry about it. He knew it. And they still, hey, you know what? We're going to ride and die with this guy. We're going to ride and die.
What?
And they died. A lot of them are dying. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
So on one side, I see there's pure insanity, right? There's some insanity happening over there. There's that you're not breaking through that shell. So over here, we might have, there's some insanity on the fanatical left, but they're not that dangerous. You know what I mean? they're not that dangerous, and I think there's more
I don't know
logical
about
things
that.
floating around over. What's that? You don't know about?
I don't know about that, man. I think the fanatical left, I think, is just like a mirror image, but they play the morality card.
They hide behind the guise of virtue. I know.
You know what I mean? So I really think there's a danger in trying to say, you know, the left, or there might be a little crazy, but they're not dangerous. I don't believe that whatsoever. I think they have just as much capability to be as dangerous as the right is. I don't see
you know
them
what
any-
though?
What's
You
that?
know what? You say they're just as dangerous, but here's the thing: America, we're followers.
I
So when
agree.
someone tells you something, that's the difference between what's going on the right and the left.
Right.
They are actually telling these people to do certain things. So they're so ready to ride right now for some hate. You see what I'm
Right. I
saying?
got you.
That's
Yeah, I
the
feel-
major difference. You're saying, okay, go do this.
Yeah. Here's
Right?
his directive. And
Yeah,
this is-
here.
Go to the polls and watch what they're doing.
Stand by.
Yeah.
Stand by.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
when you say that these racist people are good people, that's the difference. When you
Yeah.
say this young kid was justified in going in and killing somebody, that's the difference.
I
The
agree.
left is not doing these things.
I agree.
I'm not saying politically the left is not just as bad. I'm just saying they're not throwing gasoline on the fire like this dude is doing.
No, they're more ideology than anything, and they will shift policy in sometimes a toxic direction. But I look, there's danger
Trump is
involved.
directly causing people to kill each other by his own words right now.
Exactly.
Directly.
I couldn't believe he
Giving
said that.
orders. He is the shot caller.
I agree.
And that is super, super dangerous. That's why that young kid went into that protest and shot them people. That's why.
Mhm.
If Trump wouldn't have been preaching this stuff, that kid would have never been there.
No, and he was a little 17-year-old thinking he's going to be a hero
See,
for his
and, that,
president. and his mom.
and that's the biggest issue I have with it. The politics is all bad.
He can't even come out and say the whatever the good boys, good guys, whatever they call. He couldn't even say it.
No, because that's his base.
That's
He can't denounce his base.
that's my point. Biden, to his credit, hey, they need to be, taken apart. They need to be whatever. Woo woo woo. Hey, guess what? Biden may be as racist. I don't know what, but shit, he sure can't say, hey, we need to get rid of him.
Words matter. Words matter a lot.
I'm
And when
just
you
saying.
have that much power in your hands and you have those many followers and that many people that ride for you, whatever you say is super important. You
There's
can't
no
be
doubt.
reckless with your words like that, man. You're
There's no
causing
doubt.
people to really
And one thing with Biden, we do know he was Obama's vice president for 8 years, damn it. I'm just simply saying whatever you wanted, he had to bow down and accept that role as being second, however you want to term it. So again, and to Joe's point, we have as black folks, we have been taught again to take the lesser of two evils. And until this third party is created or whatever it's called that can, unite, I've got to go with that particular party, unfortunately, because the Republicans.
It ain't going to happen before January.
Hey, one thing about Republicans, man, they may hate black folks, but guess what? Shit, they don't want to give each other. They don't even want to help. They're about themselves. They're about they'd take the Social Security from every one of us if they could.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that blows you got the guys that live up north in some goddamn cabin somewhere. Do they think Trump can relate to them?
And that would
Are
blow
you
my mind
kidding
too.
me?
That blows my mind too.
You know what's
The party
funny?
is based on religion, guns, and
It's
racism.
fake religion. It's fake.
Religion, guns, and racism.
They're
No, I know. Look,
Please.
they're gonna take your religion, they're gonna take your guns,
Fear.
and if you ain't black, you're
Fear.
better than them. You
Fear.
know what I'm saying? Fear.
Fear.
That's it. Period.
That's what fear. That's what they're using right now is fear. Fear monger. That's exactly
on the fanatical left. They use it also. It's subtle. It's not the same, and it's not because he is inciting violence. He is inciting.
Right.
When he said what he said at the end of that fucking, it was like he knows he just got his ass handed to him because he couldn't shut his mouth, and that was the last thing he had. And we saw that he's willing to use it. And the thing about the Republican Party, what we know for a fact now is they don't give a fuck about the people. They are
None at
party
all.
first, party first, party first. I've never seen anything gravitate like they hated this guy before he got in. Then he got in, and it's Trump, 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 Trump. What the, like, where did integrity go? You know what I mean? Like, I thought we were supposed to have that.
They don't have
That was
none.
a guiding force.
They don't have none.
I think we do. I think we're sitting here. We can be angry. We can be. But what we are doing right now is just sitting here talking.
We're having dialogue, which is important.
It's extremely important. We're having it in public. We're inviting other people to share it and disagree if they want. I don't know if Steve's fielding the questions or not. I don't know where Steve is, but this is the first episode with this new studio out in Boston. So we're gonna have a lot more of these. And I think it's just a conversation.
But Vince, you know what I would ask you to do?
What?
Include the other side in the argument.
Wait till Wednesday.
Joe Rogan, man.
Yeah, I would
Joe
love
Rogan
somebody to come on here and show and prove to me where I'm wrong on my point.
Let's get Candace Owens on this bitch.
Well, Wednesdays, there's she's an intelligent woman. She's mixed, black, white. She's pro-Trump 100%. She anti-COVID. She's similar to Candace Owens in her. She's eloquent. She's pretty. You know what I mean? I don't agree with anything she says for the most part, except she is a good person. You know what I mean? Like
who's this?
It's Alicia Hamilton.
Okay.
You've talked to her on my page before.
I've cursed her out on your page before.
I don't know if you cursed her out. You might have, but we'll get into our conversations. But we respect you. Look, we're not going to win anything by pouncing on the other person's ideas, right? So let's get them out. And then if we can't agree, let the people who are watching draw their own decision from it. You know what I mean? But let's share our information in a long form conversation, and then let people decide. I told her, I'm like, this ain't a debate. We're not debating because somebody has to win in a debate. We're talking. We're just talking. We're saying our piece, and then we're going to let people deal with that. And I think that's
it's hard to debate with it's hard to debate with closed-minded people that it is what it is. If it's not a gray area in this particular piece for me. It's white or black at this point. And it's hard for me. That's why a lot of times I don't even have these conversations anymore, because if you already got if your heart is not in the right place, then your mind it's going to be hard for it to follow. You know what I mean? So if your heart is just hell bent, if you think you're above me, that trumps everything. How can we even have a intellectual conversation? You feel me? Yeah. So if you like I said, if you go back to the point and you think Trump is justifying things that he's doing, it's really nothing I can really honestly say. Now, I was poking fun, but I would still love to have that conversation for the purpose of your podcast.
Derek, you know what, Derek? You're absolutely right. If you're a Trump supporter by now, there's nothing that anybody can tell you to change your mind. I spoke with, now listen to this, I'm a vegan, right? So right. In veganism, you think there wouldn't be a lot of racism, but there's a lot of racism there. They still don't make the connection between human suffering and animal suffering, right?
Exactly.
So I had a conversation with this dude. I told him to call me. He's a Mexican, vegan, Trump supporter. I'm like, this is an oxymoron if I ever heard of one. How does this happen? Please let me know how this happens.
That's fascinating, you know? Like me, I get all curious about that shit. I'm like,
oh, listen. He justified from the Mexicans or rapists and drug. He justified every single thing. I'm like,
how?
How do you ride for this guy? What do you see? And he's a Christian.
Did you ask him?
These are everything that goes against what this man is.
Man, everything.
Every single thing.
Everything. There isn't one. So
one thing, Candace Owens, if you guys ever listen to her, has there been one person that's been killed black that she agreed that it was wrong for them to be killed?
No.
Has there been one time? Once. Has there been one time where she's been in agreement with, and don't get me wrong, there's black folks that do stupid shit, that you know, they do something, they get killed by the police and it's justified. But I'm saying in those instances where we know that the girl was in the car with her boyfriend or husband on Facebook Live, and he said, "Hey, I'm letting you know I got a CDW. I got my pistol here. I'm letting you know," and the guy kills him on camera. In those instances, she still would go with the narrative that he was wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Imagine this. And this is all we have to do. This is America. Imagine this. Imagine that Philando Castile. Imagine that incident.
Yeah.
But a white baby, a white man, a white woman, and the man has a concealed carry permit. And it was a black police officer. You know that the National Rifle Association would have been super involved in this case and rode for that dude that got shot by that black cop, funded the whole thing, gave him money, made sure the cop was going to be arrested, everything. Imagine a white baby, a white woman, and a white man that had legally had a weapon permit, right? And a black officer that shot him in front of those people. Imagine that. Just let that sink in. What does that look like? What would that look like to America?
Imagine Breonna Taylor, where now it's coming out as a whole different narrative. Now we're finding out why they didn't want the information released from the secret grand jury. Again, these things have been happening to us forever. I'm
gonna go back to Candace Owens for a second, and I want to take it back to trauma and just think about it. This is how the trauma of racism affects everybody who never agreed to be a part of this system. You know, so how much do you think she must hate herself inside to lash out on her own people like that look like her? Like what kind of what do you how kind of like OJ. Like when I watched that OJ documentary, I was torn up because I know trauma and I know what that is. And I'm not black. I'm OJ. Man, you fucking hate yourself. All that shit you're doing, you've been taught to hate yourself in this system. You know what I mean? On another perspective, being poor and white, you know what I mean? We got white privilege. Yes, we can navigate our way out by looking like and talking like, because when I got across 8 Mile, I started talking white and I said, oh, I'm gonna play this game and the cops won't fuck with me, you know? But there's that too. Like I was poor. I was too poor to be cool with white people. So you know what I mean? NWA wound up being my father figure. They said it was okay to be poor, and here's how you cannot be poor: go sell drugs. And I said, all right, I'll do that. You know, I hated myself. I hated myself because of the system I was acclimated to. You know, and at the end of the day, it's all classism. You know, we've been tricked to believe that you know. I hate when I see poor people or middle class people fighting each other. Like, what the fuck? they're taking from you every fucking day, and like Joe said, they're using your money to keep you in a fucking box. When do we, like, how is that so fucking hard to see? Like,
the story they give poor white people is, at least you're not black. That part, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? And with people say, oh, I don't believe I was poor, I had a tough time. That's not what white privilege means. It means that you get the benefit of the doubt. That means you get things that white people get when it comes to housing, when it comes to loans, when it comes to all these different things. You get the second chance. You know what I'm saying? If you get in trouble, if you're a criminal, your charges aren't as steep.
Or you walk away.
What I'm saying? Whatever you do, the punishment is less. And if you come out of prison, you're more likely to get a second chance and to get a job. And all these simple things that people think that doesn't affect how you move in life in this country.
It affects everything.
Right? Redlining, you know what I'm saying? Everything they put in place to keep black people into the ghettos, where there's no food, where there's crime. Poverty breeds crime. Now, when you put everybody into an impoverished area, there's going to be a high crime there.
Wherever.
Right? When you feed people fake food, they can no longer raise their consciousness. It's going to dumb them down. When you put a liquor store in every corner, when you allow drugs to flow freely, right? When you allow a church on every corner, churches never help the black community, ever. You see what I'm saying? They're a part of the system, the conditioning too. right? Oh, as long as you go to church and do this, you good, run the streets during the daytime, do whatever you got to do. You see what I'm saying? That's why so many pastors pimps ended up being pastors. It's just another part of the system. That's all it is. If you look in the Black community, there's nothing there to empower Black people. There's no health and wellness centers. You know what I'm saying? There's no people coming in teaching the meditation to people. There's no people coming in teaching people how to grow their own food or
There's
eat the
no
right
Whole
food.
Foods. There's no Whole Foods in the hood.
Right, ever. And
I remember
people
walking to school.
It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence.
I remember we
playing
abandoned
in our
houses,
bodies
burned down
affects
houses.
us, even on a mental level, on a consciousness level. You want to keep people dumb, you feed them stuff that makes them dumb.
Bingo. Right. Bingo. Bingo.
I like the government cheese though, if I'm being honest.
That was the only thing that I liked. That was the only thing that was the only thing that I ever liked about it. The powdered eggs, the peanut butter in a silver can.
White box lunches. Yeah.
Man, come on.
5 pound block of cheese.
And the cheese was dope though. We used it for everything.
Yeah,
The raisins in the
you know
white
what they
little
did?
box. You seen remember the raisins in the white little box too?
yeah.
Yeah, it was all. I mean, but just like when you walk out of your house, all you see is Taco Bell, you know, McDonald's, Burger
Right.
King. People used to shop at the liquor store for food.
Yeah, they still do.
They still do.
Oh,
They
Right?
still do.
We used to
Shop
think
at the
that was a
liquor
treat,
store.
but
They still do.
We're getting McDonald's tonight.
Hot and ready's every day. That's in the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you shop at the liquor store for your food, man, you ain't getting the best quality stuff.
No, no. You get some ramen, you do some ramen cook up.
Hey guys, it ain't got to be complicated. It's all. That's why I keep saying it's common sense. You know, we want to make this into this, you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's really a lot of common sense. Man.
At the end of the day, common sense is not that common.
Right. I was at the comments.
Exactly.
So how do we make it common? You know, it's just. I'd love to see some responses to that. How do we make common sense common?
I don't. Go ahead.
Go ahead. We got to take the initiative to go into places and speak on this stuff.
Right.
So what I do, I'll go into the inner city and speak to these kids about meditation and about mindfulness and about healthy eating.
Oh,
Matter of fact, this Heal the Hood tour that I'm on right now.
Good stuff, bro.
We're getting food donated from gardens, and we're taking and we're creating events to go there, give away free food, and have speakers and healers and educators all there for people in the inner city. That's how you do it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it all comes down to education.
True.
No matter what it is, all across the board.
True.
Whether it's revamping the education system or offering better education. I mean, number one, I know the education that I received was so biased as compared to what it has now. Is like, you understand, that's how it perpetuates it, you know, over and over again. You know, it needs to be revamped what history really was.
True.
You know, instead of having a half a page on how the colonization of America was. Oh, they came over and they had a Thanksgiving and they did this. Oh yeah, and a couple Indians died, and then they blew over that shit.
And then they had corn.
And older found out what the fuck was going on. I mean, I remember. This is crazy, man. I remember, and I don't know why this stuck out in my head. Maybe it was because it was so little was covered. When they covered the Revolutionary War, and I remember them telling us how, you know, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. And I remember specifically them telling, and in bold print in my history book, and Crispus Attucks was the first African slave that died for his country in the Revolutionary War. And I'm just thinking to myself as I get older, I'm like, did they have some motherfucker out there like recording this shit? like the first black man that died in the Revolutionary War? Like, yeah, what the fuck was that? It was like, when I think about that was the kind of history that was taught to me. I mean, I can understand why there's so much division and so lack of knowledge, you know, to this day.
This is the common right here. So here's common ground. This is what can level the playing field if it's used right. You know, I don't know if you guys saw the social dilemma yet, but
and that's what I was saying. Trump wants to squash this.
But any dictator wants to squash the flow of information.
He wants to squash this because how dare we talk about our great American history and our great patriots. See, they want us to keep, like you said, to condition us and to brainwash us. You know what I mean? How dare we talk about we learn more? And I'm talking, and it's just not for black folks, it's for anybody. You know, George Washington Carver, or the things black men invented the cell phone. Again, their knowledge is power, and people are afraid for us, and I'm talking about the black community, to empower ourselves. And then when we do, history has shown, well, to Joe's point, they want to destroy us. So it's a lot of dynamics, man. I think it's to really get back to the nitty gritty. It's economics. It's if we are going to be in these political parties, people got to get in, win these Senate races, the representatives, state reps, whatever the case. There's a reason why they're fighting for all these things with the judge, the Supreme Court. That's why these things are so important. That's why they're rushing to get this young lady in there to be a Supreme, because these things she will dictate the, history in the future. That's why it's so important.
Yeah.
So it's important to Vince, like you said, man, and I commend you, bro. You know what I mean? Because I've been on your page and I see the people, making the comments and Vince, I've stopped going to your page.
I don't blame you.
I had to stop doing it.
I just post and I'm out.
I couldn't even take it no more. I'm just like, because I get on and I get into my Malcolm X mode. I'm like, let me just stop. Let me stop.
Because there really is no point at a certain point. Like if they're stuck, there's nothing, we can't gain anything. You're not going to turn the conversation. Nope. It's only good for me. Like it was good for a certain, because I could bring them out in public and we could see how ridiculous the idea was. You know what I mean? But even then it started to get toxic, and my tone started to get angrier, and I know that, like, I'm of that spiritual mindset. I'll do what I got to do if my back's against the wall, right? And I to your point, I'm not a black man in America, so I haven't lived my whole life feeling like my back's against the wall. Now, as a poor person, my back was against the wall. I suffered in the same way. But I always had white skin. You know what I mean? And the system was kinder to me. And I know this from experience. I can tell you about the times that, Warren called black people number fours, because that's what they were when you signed into jail, number 4. So in order to get drugs across 8 Mile, he said, the white guy, I'll meet you on the other side of 8 Mile, we'll bring it across. You know what I mean? Driving across the country, pulled over, I don't know how many times, with hundreds and hundreds of, just stupid shit. And I know what white privilege is. I know in Colorado, you pull my family out, motherfucker, you know what I mean? Give me your badge, give me your gun. You know what I mean? That's the kind, and I'm probably getting away with it. And I said that to somebody who was saying there's bad cops everywhere or people make mistakes. I was like, because he didn't understand white privilege. I'm like, that's white privilege, because we don't have to tolerate that shit no matter how poor we are. They're going to think twice before they do that shit with white people. And it's fucking disgusting.
Because there's consequences when you kill a white person. There's consequences when you kill a white person. They're going to think twice about
how do you not see that? Like, I don't see how a person can't see that it's different. Like, people are treated differently.
Vince, this is the part I want you to get past this part. They do know. They do know.
I don't know.
They know.
I can't
think. That's what I'm trying to tell you, bro. It's not, man, look. I know y'all, so we talk about common sense and a lot of people not having it. But damn it, come on, guys. Come on. I know when Derek Denham does wrong, when I was a little kid and I went in 6 years old and I stole those bag of chips off the grocery store and put them under my thing, I knew I was wrong.
Well, that's different.
No.
It is. It's different.
No. I know. I'm gonna tell you why it's not different. Vince, when I was a kid, man, this is a true story, and I'm sure some other people can relate to this. Have you ever had, when you were young, you went to a white guy's house, one of your boys or whatever, and they may have had a dog, and they say the dog started barking, he said, "Oh man, he don't, he don't like black people, man, or he ain't never seen a black person." It's like, dude, that's an animal. What are we talking about? That's an animal. What kind of sense? I'm just saying, people they say some idiotic things at the end of the day, which that's just totally crazy. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, racism is a learned activity. I don't think anybody was born racist. I think, Vince, to your point, when you as a parent, I could go teach my black daughter, hey, you know what? All white folks ain't shit. I could do that. And then it started because you're conditioned. You're conditioned the way we eat. That's why people eat different things in China than we do over here. So it's all about conditioning, man. And I truly believe most people they know from right from wrong. At the end of the day, I believe people really believe that. I believe people know at this point that black folks are humans. We're not animals. Yeah. I think what happens is they may look at somebody like me, maybe if I shave my beard and, maybe get rid of the facial hair. I had an old boss. I used to be the procurement director for the city of Pontiac. And he told me I had a goatee. I just had a goatee at the time. I had the bald head. And he said, Derek, this is a black guy now, real nice guy, conservative brother. He said, Derek, have you ever thought about shaving all the hair on your face? I said, excuse me, Mr. Cochran? He said, Derek, I just want you to understand something. In corporate America, people fear you. What do you mean, Mr. Cochran? Well, you're bald head, you're black, you got hair in your face. I'm like, excuse me? And this is a brother talking to me. And he's just like, they fear you. They fear you. You're not, some people fear me because, again, the way I look, and then, I know how to articulate. I know how to, I don't have to talk with slang. I know how to, show my educated side, so to speak. So again, it's like, if it's we just, it's just frustrating as fuck.
It's very frustrating, but right from wrong is different from asking some, and I'm not justifying anything. Again, this is going back to trauma, a traumatized planet. I mean, we've all been taught wrong, up until now. And,
what's traumatized white folks?
Well, shit, a lot of things are traumatized.
No, I mean, but I'm saying as it relates to, and this is the part I'm trying to get.
Racism?
With a black person, where did the trauma come in at? Well,
okay, say you're a female, a white female, and you've been taught that black men are dangerous, but you don't believe that. But this is indoctrinated in your head, and this creates a trauma response. And so somebody who never created those ideologies themselves, they were thrust onto them and then put into a system that perpetuated it. So they're not right with themselves because they know it's not right. They're conflicted, but that causes a trauma response in the brain. For somebody who grew up in Detroit, and then I went over to Hazel Park. Right. I got to see what racism was, and then Hollywood, and it was all kumbaya, and there's everybody's hugging each other and whatever. For me, even it took Obama to see that. I had to see it. It wasn't real to me until I experienced it. Then when I felt that was visceral. I had an epiphany. I'm like, holy fuck, that had to happen for me to be jostled to the point to where I was like, this is fucked up, but I had to step out of my experience. Something had to pull me out of my experience. So as much as we would like to say they should know, they might not. Some might. And I'm not, but I think the way we heal, all of us, because I expect some anger pushed towards me just because I'm white. Like I can't go out to a protest and not think that I might get a couple of words thrown at, you know what I mean? Like I got to expect that.
You're more dangerous than I am.
What's that?
You're more dangerous than I am.
What? How?
As a white man trying to Yeah. You're being more dangerous than I am to them. That's a fact.
I believe that.
Yeah. No. I guess the point I'm making is when we ask people to step outside their experience, most can't. And it's not that they don't want to, it's that they don't know how to. Because if I knew how to, I would have done it when I was 12, and I would have went through half the shit or put people through half the shit that I put them through. I didn't know. I didn't know until I knew. And and as much as it's obvious to me now, I can go back to the point prior to Obama where it just didn't register. I wasn't denying it. It just wasn't in, it just wasn't there. But it was happening and people were dying. And then Rodney King happened. And you're like, oh, what the fuck? But then everybody goes back to whatever.
See, I guess that I don't want to dominate the conversation, guys. I'm sorry. But it's like I wasn't there when Jews got exterminated as a black person. I never seen it. I knew it happened. I've seen the documentaries. I've seen TV just like we all have. You know what I mean? So it didn't take, I'm just simply saying.
I know what you're saying.
That kind of baffles my mind because I could identify with their pain, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I'm part Indian. My grandmother on my dad's side is a full-blood Cherokee Indian. Now, was I taught a lot about that particular part of our heritage? No. But I know it's a lot of Indians that had to walk that trail and got slaughtered. You feel me?
You have compassion.
Derek,
you were taught compassion.
But no, but I'm sorry. So I know when you look at, and I'm just saying for white folks now, they know, they seen the images of us getting hung. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They've heard the stories of little black babies being gator bait. You know what I mean? That's the part that still kind of baffles me, because whether you've been in my shoes or not, you ain't heard them stories about white folks. You feel me? And I'm saying this rhetorically now.
Yeah, I'm telling you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because they've never had, as a white male, ever had to deal with anything like that. So they can't identify with it. It's almost a disconnection. Like, that's not part of my reality. So I can't feel for that person. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like when I tell you the vegans, the racist vegans, they made a connection somehow to an animal, but now they cannot identify with the black person. You see what I'm saying? It's not part of the reality. Animals are. They have pets, they have things. They're like, oh, I just made this connection with them, but not black people. It's not, as crazy as it sounds, it's not part of their world. So it doesn't affect them that way. And so when you're at the top of the food chain all the time, anything, even women. So white men will treat a white woman in general a different way because they're beneath them. Everybody is beneath the white male in this society. So you don't have the empathy or compassion, and blacks are at the bottom of the chain. You see what I'm saying? In their eyes. So shit, women are before us, white women, animals, keep going down the line. Black people are the least of their concerns, right? So how can I feel for this? I got all these other things that's in front of a black person. Black person means nothing. They used to set black babies up at fairs and throw stuff at them, like hit the black baby or some crazy game they play. They used to put black people in like a zoo and have people just view them, right? So this is the history of that. So how do you think this guy on the top of the totem pole gives two shits about a black person that gets shot in the back or a black person that gets treated a certain way? It's cognitive dissonance. They don't make that connection because they don't want to make that connection. They want to remain where they are. They don't not want to fall off that pedestal, that block that they're sitting on.
But does that mean that they really don't know? I'm saying
they know, they just don't care. They know.
Bingo.
There's a disconnect there. Yeah.
Okay. So you said we went with, but you said what I said. They know, but they choose to ignore it.
And they choose to ignore it because of their conditioning. You see what I'm saying? So if there was a white man raised in a black family, they wouldn't have that conditioning. They wouldn't have that part.
But how can you and I have that compassion?
Because we come from an oppressed group. So we know what it's all about.
Got you. And that's why if something happened to Candace Owens or OJ, they run back to our community. And what
They
do we
know.
do?
Yep.
What do we do?
Take them back in.
Come on back.
Monk, when
Come on back.
what made you decide to stop eating meat?
You know what, man? When I look 38 years old is when I had my come to Jesus moment, right? And I didn't know what to do. And I started my meditation shortly after that, because I was dealing with all these things, like I was saying earlier, that started to come up for me, and it was very uncomfortable, and I didn't have my crutch. So just from getting present, I made this connection, not only because I didn't give a damn about nobody really, except for myself at this time. So I made a connection sitting to not only to human beings from every race, but I made a connection also beyond. So a lot of people go, okay, I can make a connection to humans, but I can't make a connection to anything that's not human, even though they feel the exact same way that we feel, even though they're sentient. They love their kids, right? They feel the same pain. You kick a dog, he gonna yelp, just like you kick a person, right? They feel the same way we feel. They just don't, they communicate different.
Right.
So what happened was 3 years into my meditation, I'm sitting there eating a vegetarian omelet down in Oakland. And it was one of them like Black Bear Diner meat potato places. And I'm like, none of this sounds good to me at all, right? So I'm eating this vegetarian omelet, no meat on there, no nothing. And the person I was with said, are you a vegetarian? And at that moment, when I tell you, no bullshit, that it was like, yes, and I meant it. Like I knew it. I didn't even know what a vegan was, but I knew it at that moment. I'm not eating meat again. And it's crazy as hell, because I don't even know why I said that, because I eat chicken and turkey 12 times a day. So after I left it, I started Googling this, because the only thing prior to this was meditation. And it said I made a connection, not on a conscious level, but a subconscious level.
Visceral level.
And I didn't want to cause pain and suffering to any other beings anymore.
So prior to that, and because I've had that same come to Jesus, not the same. I eat meat and I think it's wrong. I have that. I think it's wrong. I think there's going to come a time where our grandkids are going to look back and say, "How the fuck could you do that? That is so just." I think that will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll happen. But the point I'm trying to make is based on what Derek's saying. Did you think you were a bad person leading into that, or did
No, not at all. You know what's a trip, man? I have opened up so much to this connection that I'm making every day with everyone. It's like when you hear the word ribs, all you think about is food, but think about that word.
Well, I did now. When you said that, I
Like
just
you are eating a rib cage. You are gnawing on a rib cage. So me back then, when I heard ribs, I went, oh shit, what kind of barbecue sauce they gonna put on? Now I'm like, you're chewing on a rib cage, something that housed another being's organs. And that to me now sounds so barbaric. Like you are just gnawing on someone's ribs. Like it would be like gnawing on a human's ribs. It's like, that's barbaric. That's just grotesque to the, when it happened, my wife was still eating meat, and we had a big thing of ribs in the freezer, just sitting in there for hella long. And it was getting to the point where I see it every day, and I was just like, man, those are ribs. Like those are ribs. Like those are ribs. I remember back in the day, we used to eat gizzards and hearts and stuff, or chickens back in the day. My mom used to cook those. I'm like, I was chewing on a heart. I was chewing on another being's heart, like a savage, like a Jeffrey Dahmer. So that's how I feel about it now. These beings, if we can have a relationship with a dog, if we hurt a dog, we go to jail. Ask Michael Vick. Michael Vick did more time for a dog than these cops are getting for killing human beings.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying? So if we can have a relationship in America, and if we kick a dog, everybody's outraged. Someone got to go to jail for this, right? If we can do that, why? What's the difference between a pig? It's the same thing in the human condition. You can kill a black person, no consequences. You kill a white person, you're gonna have to serve time. That's the dog, that's the pig. You see what I'm saying? But once you realize it's all one, once you realize suffering cannot be contained. So these animals are coming around to bite us now with all these viruses. It's coming back now to cause us heart disease. It's coming back now to cause the swine flu, the bird flu. It's coming back around. You cannot contain suffering. The suffering we are putting on these animals are putting the suffering back on us. Global warming, our resources, our water. Think about what it's doing to us right now, because we don't show enough compassion to keep this shit out of our bodies. Not only that, The energetic state of that being becomes part of you. The stress, the anxiety, the moment of its death, the cells change. You are now taking it into your body. You're breaking it down on a cellular level. It's becoming you. You are your food. Without it, you die. So the energetic state of that animal, the growth hormones, the antibiotics are all you now. Whatever you've been eating is you. That energy is you. If you believe everything is energy, if you know everything is energy, which it is, even your thoughts, you know the energetic state of that animal is becoming part of your energy as well. We have to eat more consciously. Through meditation, it brought me to that conscious awareness.
How painful would your daily existence be if you were to look at everybody, because you know better, and I agree with you, I'm not there yet. But if you were to look at everybody, and I'm just trying to make a point, if you were to, everybody that's eating meat, you know it's wrong, you know it at the core of your soul, how bad it is. If you were to let that, you should know better.
So,
You know what I mean?
like I said before, it's not the message, it's the delivery.
Right.
I know in my heart that we shouldn't be doing this, but I'm not going to judge the next person. I did it for 40 something years.
That's compassion.
I'm not going to judge the next person, but I'm going to give information from a loving place. Look, like some of the stuff I just said, you probably ain't never heard in your life. And I'm not coming from a judgmental place. I'm just saying, this is the information.
Right.
Take it how you want to take it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is what it is. These are the facts. If you continue to eat meat, I still love you. If you
Right.
continue to do what you do, I still love you. But I just believe you should have this information that you might not know. And I'm going to give it to you from a loving place. And that's what I go around and do. It's like, when you truly start to love yourself, you're really cautious of the energy you allow to merge with yourself. As far as friendships, as far as what you eat, as far as what you watch, as far as what you read, as far as the music you listen to, you know, it has a frequency to it.
True.
Right? And meat is a very low frequency. It's dead flesh, right? And so you're bringing this and this is why Rastas don't do it. And this is why a lot of other cultures, spiritual cultures don't do it. They know it's bringing the frequency down.
True.
So they don't put anything in their body that's going to stop their progress from connecting to the highest. You know what I'm saying? So that's where they are. And for me, it just came through meditation.
But you see the point I was trying to make, Derek, is
No,
like,
absolutely.
we're only going to evolve through a compassion. And if we have the ability to give it, and that's hard. I'm not trying to say you personally, I don't know what you've gone through in your life, you know what I mean? But you got to live with the suffering, you know, as much. It's the same with me. Like, there's a lot of shit I'd like to be pissed about. There's things I could lash out against, and I could throw my weight around a little bit and have some little victories, but I got to live with that shit. And I'm not serving the universe by putting that energy out there. So all I'm doing when I asked you guys to get together, we were, you know, going back and forth on Monk's page, and I'm like, this is healthy. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is healthy because I want to know. I want to know, and if I'm wrong, I want to be. But I don't think it's so much wrong and right. It's that ideas need to find space to get out, and we got to find a way. And it's hard. It's hard because I look at the same shit you do, and I'm like, how the fuck can you? That's so obvious, right in your face. But I got to back off of that because I ain't doing no good by putting that out.
When I start getting involved, Vince, and I start to feel, and it starts to pull me into the muck, I step back because. Yeah. No matter if you're right or you're wrong, what you're adding to the collective consciousness is some bullshit, right? So we're a result of who we are as a whole right now. And this is where we're at. Yeah. And we're not in a very good place. So me adding to that's negativity, no matter if I'm right or I'm wrong, the energy that I'm giving to this, whatever is going on, if it's a low vibrational energy, I'm making the problem worse. So for me, if I find myself start to get pulled in at it, I block so many people and not responding to things that I know I can just completely roast them on. Right. I'm gonna sidestep this. This is just an invitation to bring me to another place, and I'm not gonna take it. Right. This is where you choose your battles, if that's what you want to call them. You see what I'm saying? There's things you can never win, but what you do is you go in there and you dirty yourself up. You can't roll around with pigs and not expect to get dirty. You see what I'm saying? You got to stay out of that muck, right? If you got to turn all your devices off, do it. Do not dive in that mess because it's trying to get you to come.
Suck the energy right out of you.
We think because we're standing, because our causes are virtuous, And if we stand behind them, we can have that negative energy and push these positive ideas, but we're mucking up the positive ideas by doing that. That's all we're doing. Because let's just take God out of the equation, spirituality. Let's just talk pure physics. Negative energy plus negative energy equals negative. There's no, it can't possibly be positive. So negative plus positive. Now we get the balance. Throw a little more positive in there. Maybe we start to shift things, and the density of positive energy is greater than negative energy. Right. So it takes less positive energy, and they've done studies on this in meditation. You've probably heard them, where they studied. I think it was Greg Braden. He was talking about a study where he said it takes a tenth of a percent of a population in constant meditation and prayer. Not prayer like we know it, but prayer like this this constant back and forth with all that is, and seeing the good before it happens, manifesting. It takes 0.1% of a population. They've tested it in war zones, and we can call it coincidence or woo-woo, whatever. But if you believe in physics, it's energy. Our heart's got a field. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm trying real hard to live that. It's not easy. The universe don't make that shit easy, and we got daily life, and your kid gets picked on, your spirituality will go out the fucking window real quick. You know what I mean? So the odds are against us, but I don't think things happen to us. I think they happen for us, and that's what it's all, this whole thing, this human condition, it's for us to transcend. And until we do, we're going to end up in the same cycle over and over, and it'll manifest in different clever ways. Right. But, and being a white man in America talking like that, some may say it's easier for me.
But you know what? Check this out, Vince. Your demographic is the highest percentage of people that kill themselves. Don't think that y'all ain't got no trauma. Don't think that y'all ain't got no trauma.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Hey, when I'm talking about trauma, I know I'm just saying, like, from an outsider perspective, because I can't even count the amount of friends that I've had kill themselves, overdose.
It just comes in a different package. That's all.
Right.
I mean, it comes in a different package.
Good point.
Hey, can I post a question here? I got a question and this has to do with, I believe, trauma through racism, and I'm looking for some perspectives, because I've spoken about this before with some friends before and gotten different perspectives, and especially at a time like this, I don't hear enough people talking about it, but this has to do with the N-word, and just the simple fact that, I mean, there's trauma within that right there, because just the simple fact that in a discussion like this, it's frowned upon to even mutter that word. My question is, when we're looking, Vince talked about earlier, like, we got to get to our kids and expose them to different things and teach them different things. Mm-hmm. But when we're looking at something that's perpetuating things and causing confusion, so within the Black community, the spelling of the ER is looked derogatory, and they take huge offense to it. Right. But then it's used in a different spelling as a positive amongst the group. And then you have kids outside the Black community who are told, no matter what,
don't say that word.
It's derogatory for you. But then that same white kid, or whatever it is outside that Black community, hears it constantly in their favorite music, hears it constantly from their favorite sports athlete, hears it constantly from their favorite comedian. And I think that causes such a great confusion and trauma on either end. And I feel that it causes so much confusion, and it's such a dichotomy, if you will, that it does more worse than good. And I don't understand. There was a documentary on that, and I forgot the name of the documentary. It was probably 5 or 6 years back. And they spoke about this the whole way. And what I hear is, well, we took it and made it our word, and we use it this way and we flip it. And I feel I don't understand, because I never really see in any other culture them taking a derogatory and using it and incorporating it itself. It almost makes me feel, I feel like it's a brainwash technique to get to relate to each other on the most derogatory word amongst anywhere else. And it confuses me. And it frustrates me because I really think at the end of the day, it causes confusion, and it's a form of responsibility that can be taken and changed. If you really want that change, why hold on to that word, no matter what the spelling? And I don't hear that talked about enough, man. And I'm just looking for some outside perspective on that.
Let me say a couple words on that real quick.
Yeah, Monk, you go ahead, then I'll go ahead on that one. Go
So
ahead.
first of all, that the way even the word it's almost not a black word anymore. It's almost like a hood word.
Right.
Like if you are in the hood, everybody is using that word, whether you Mexican, Indian, whatever
that
you
confuses
are.
me too. That confuses me too.
Right. It's a hood word now. And believe me, people are getting that pass. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting knocked in the mouth if you ain't black, if you in the hood, use that word.
Oh, listen, I've gotten that hood pass from my black friends. I chose not to use it. But what I'm saying is even that whole pass thing, it's just like, I don't understand why there even has to be that situation or that environment. It seems like it causes more negativity and more trauma than positivity to even get past.
I'm not saying it's a positive thing at all, but it's just kind of changed in the culture from just being a black thing and then a racist thing to being like a hood thing. Like that word, I mean, and people will use it around me that ain't black, like feel real comfortable about real comfortable.
Now see, I don't have that
they'd be like to each other, and I'm just like, it's like they really believe that it's a hood word. Like they don't even know the true origin of that word.
Right.
They just talk about it, but I think we got way bigger issues.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad either for white people to feel a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like to feel a little jostled by race relations. I think it's okay for us to feel jostled. I think it's important that we do.
Well, no, that's important to talk about because, I mean, Derek was talking about that earlier. I mean, ultimately, if you want someone to respect where you're coming from a point of view that you can't, you in return have to be honest on where you're coming from. Like, listen, okay, I'm going to try to understand where you're coming from, but this is one of the hurdles I'm having. And this is something that I don't understand. So I'm looking from an outside perspective on how you feel so I can get closer to understanding you. That's the whole point to this conversation.
It prompted you to ask.
This and that and going back and forth. It's like, hey, listen, man, let's be honest. Let's get out in the open. I don't want to just sit over here where I'm comfortable. I want to put this out here and go, listen, man, this confuses me. Let me hear what you got to say.
Let me chime in on that. And I'm gonna be totally honest with you because
that's all I want.
In our locker room banter, people use that term. Nigga, what? Nigga? See that shit? Oh man, my nigga. Yes. And I'm gonna tell you something. It's a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it's a bunch of BS. And I'm guilty of it. Because even if I'm not doing it around Joe or Vince and I'm doing it with Monk, like to your point, I'm being contradictory towards myself and to you. So it's okay for me and Monk to say that. Oh, what's up, my nigga? You know, we give each other dab. But then Vince come around and Vince like, what's up, my nigga? And I'm looking at Vince like, huh? You know, because where I come from, you know, you a white guy, you're not saying that to me.
Right.
You feel me? So, you know, but to your point, Joe, you're absolutely right. And that's something Oprah and Jay-Z was on Oprah's show. This was years ago. And Oprah was like, you know, don't you think it's time to give up that word? You know, he's a rapper from the hood, whatever. And he tried to justify it. Right. You know, Richard Pryor, Richard Pryor
gave it up.
He gave it up. Yeah. Yes, he gave it up. And to your point, we teach our kids to what? In order to get respect, we got to respect ourselves. And that's where a lot of people in the white community, so to speak, they'll say, well, you know, black guys and Monk, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, they're lazy. They don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. Why should we respect them? Why should we do this? So to your point on this issue, which we all know that's a bunch of BS too.
Yeah, we've heard that shit. Everyone's heard that shit.
Right. But to your point, you're absolutely right. that's something it's just like when we talk about, it's the same thing when a police officer kills us or a white person kills us, and then, in Chicago, you look at the rate of black on black crime. So it's all those things that we can use against ourselves that we do have to get better with certain things in order to get the respect, because it makes no sense for me and Monk to have that conversation. You're standing right there and you wondering, well, damn, why I can't do it? There's no justification, honestly, and I'm saying this as a black man, there's no justification. I can't even make up anything intellectual enough to even try to explain it and fake the funk to you.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from a perspective as passing on to the next generation. Due to the fact whether the way me and Vince grew up in our environment, we have an easier time. I didn't grow up in an all white scenario. A lot has to do with like being exposed to different cultures and different scenarios, as opposed to someone who is sheltered. So we have a better understanding and have been around it. But I'm talking about, from here on out, the future. If you have a family that's outside of the black culture and they want to start teaching their kids this, I just feel like that scenario just throws this fucking
good point.
It throws a horseshoe in the situation when you're trying to teach them and explain them, because when they start going outside and seeing this and they're like, oh, I thought this was bad, but I hear it from here, and then I tried to fit in and I used it and I got my ass beat, or I got what, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then that causes this confusion or if you want to say to Vince, trauma and confusion, and really, steps it back to like any kind of progress and going forth. And that's why I wanted to get was like a point of view.
Only thing I'll say on that, Joe, is, and I think that's what Monk was saying, a lot of times we can, I'm not saying that's a small thing, because it is a big thing. But at the same time, if me and Monk call each other, and again, is in the term of endearment, what's up, my nigga? That still doesn't trump the fact of somebody killing me.
Oh, no, not at all. No,
I'm just saying, but
yeah, I feel you on that. No, I feel you.
You know what I mean? No matter what, Monk and I address each other, because again, we're looking at a term of endearment.
Right, correct. I understand.
At the same time, I don't want people to get so caught up in the details of that, where they say, oh, well, shit, Monk and Derek don't care about each other. Shit, why should I?
Well, it's what that black on black crime argument.
Yeah. That's kind of
proximity. That's all it is.
It's similar. Yeah.
Here's something that nobody has talked about yet. I just want to address
Go
this
ahead.
real quick. So the oppressor, right? We say that the oppressor has to deal with his bullshit, right? The oppressor has to deal with his bullshit. They've been conditioned to be the oppressor, from the slave owners to handing down slaves to so on and so forth, right?
Correct.
A matter of fact, I think the people that own slaves, and you can fact check this, but this is what I read. The people that own slaves, when they got their slaves were freed, they actually got reparations for having their slaves taken. Let that sink in for a second. So what we haven't talked about was, right? They got reparations for giving up their humans.
Like corporate bailout.
Right? So the people that have been oppressed, we are conditioned to stay oppressed.
Good point. Correct.
This is what we haven't talked about. This is the reason why we treat each other this way.
Good point.
The lynch letters, right? Teach them how to pit each other against each other, how to control them, right? Willie Lynch, right? Teach them to hate each other. Teach the house Negroes and the field Negroes to hate each other. There were snitches back in the day.
Right.
Yeah, there were snitches back in the day, right? So all this stuff that we were taught to believe about ourselves, we are continuing to believe. And that N-word, that narrative comes from that. From the oppressed state. Look, we got them so toe up, they calling each other that. You see what I'm saying? So we have to get out of that oppressed. We have to realize how powerful we are, that we are not that which we were taught, right? Even our parents, this is all you can do with your life. Stay in your lane. Don't talk to them people that way. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't get next to the water. Right? All these things we were taught as the oppressed, we are still living that today.
And
this
Mark,
is go ahead.
I'm sorry, but can I
Go
just
ahead.
take it a little bit further?
Yeah.
What did the slaves do with the food? What happened? We got the bottom of the food, right? So what did we learn to do? We made it soul food. The
I'll
pigs.
say I just learned something recently on another show that I was on. So you know why we fry food? You know
Go
why
ahead.
we fry food? I'm gonna tell you why. Why Black people's fried food became a part of Black culture. The food was so diseased and so infested that we had to deep fry it to kill everything just so we can eat it. Right? These scraps were so not even for human consumption. We had to make sure it was fried all the way through to kill everything that was in there.
Good point.
So what turned into that, eating the feet, the snouts, the guts, chitlins, and all that stuff, coming from that, we just passed down this slave diet. So everything was fried because we were still living as the slaves did back in the day for survival. Now it's killing us.
But again, we took something that they discarded. That's how bad we were living.
Right.
We took something that they discarded, not just the animal parts, collard greens. White folks wouldn't eat no greens, collard greens.
Yeah, but that was a good thing that we did, except for we overcooked those.
No, exactly. But I'm just trying to. But to your point, we talk about the word nigga, or however you want to term it. We took it to other people's point and tried to change the narrative of it.
Right, but in the same, I know that's what we did try to do. Just like we're still eating the same food.
Exactly.
We need to let go of these things.
Exactly.
We are not there anymore, man. I remember, even back in the day, I had pig feet a couple times, but I didn't even realize what I was eating. Like I'm literally eating a piece of meat that has no meat on it.
Right.
It's just a fat, a round bone, and it's the dirtiest animal on the planet, and it's their foot.
Correct.
That's
you don't know.
crazy now. That's crazy to think that I was eating on a foot of this pig, slave food.
Right.
Right? That it blows my mind now. We still celebrating with pig intestines.
No doubt. But even beyond the meat portion of the animal portion of it, take away that out of the equation. We still took the bottom of the barrel of stuff that other people discarded, and we made
everything.
We made it our own. You know what I mean?
Right. So now it's time.
Now it's time to give it up to your point. And that's the answer to Joe's question. That's what happens to oppressed people. We have to try to find some good in some shit. You know what I mean? They use this word. We're going to turn the narrative around on it.
The first two levels of human consciousness, which is the matrix, it's victim, victimizer. They show themselves in various different forms, victim, victimizer, and that's what this is. And they play out in perpetuity until somebody says, well, I'm going to act differently. I'm going to act different. I'm going to think differently. Yeah. I'm not part of this. I'm not part of that. I don't have to be victimized. I don't have to. And just because I'm not being victimized doesn't mean I have to victimize somebody else. Right. I'm not part of this. I'm out of the matrix. You know what I mean? And that's when we start to gain that. You gain the compassion first, but then I think first I had to fake it till I didn't know what compassion was. I had no idea. Drop my damn mic. I didn't know what compassion was. And it wasn't until I went to juvie when I was 15, which saved my life, that I was taught that, well, you're a sociopath, you're a narcissist. And I started reading about what those things were, and I didn't like it. This therapist saved my fucking life because he taught me this is how you show compassion for other people. I had to fake it till I made it. You know what I mean? I had to catch, because that's what you got to do. Yeah, I mean, it's like working out. You're not going to go and you're not going to want to be fucking ripped and then all of a sudden you are, right? You got to put some work in. So I started putting the work in, but that's when I started, and I didn't know I had started to pull myself out of the matrix slightly, but we play these roles unintentionally, subconsciously, traumatically. It's the trauma response. And then when we're trapped in these cycles, and I guess it's going back to what you were saying, we can't see beyond our cycle. We can't fucking see it. It's not visible. Like, have you ever heard of the gorilla experiment? So they were testing vision, right? Physical vision. So they had this control group come in, and it's a bunch of athletes, and then there were a bunch of athletes in the middle bouncing this ball around. And the task was, I need you to count how many times they bounced that ball back and forth in that circle. So they did. So they bounce. The guy comes back in the group, and he says, "Okay, how many times did the ball bounce?" Everybody had an answer, and he says, "Well, around what time in the video did the gorilla come out?" And everyone's like, "Gorilla? What are you talking about?" So he plays it back, and I think it was around 3 minutes or something, this gorilla, guy in a gorilla suit comes running out, fucking takes off. Point is, even physiologically, we're limited to what we aim at, right? So what you aim at is what you see. And subconsciously, when we fall into our fight or flight mechanism, or not even fight or flight, just autopilot, to where we don't have our conscious mind serving us, it's all that bad shit, all that I was taught at a real young age that love was violent, that you always had to protect yourself, that you would get abandoned if you said the wrong, like I was taught, that was my life. I couldn't see beyond it. I had good people in my life that I pushed out because all I could see was that they were that was real life. So if they weren't doing it, I was gonna create it up here, and I made it real. That, you know what I mean? So on the flip side of what you're saying, like I created a lot of bad shit too, and I couldn't see positive to save my fucking life, until certain things happened that jostled me, you know. And it all goes back to the trauma response, all of it, everything. If we can have the conversation with each other about, look, I don't know exactly what you went through, but I'd like to know, you know, and I'm willing to listen. Part of the problem we have is there's a big portion of this country that don't want to listen because it feels uncomfortable. Because when you hear it, you're like, fuck, I probably took part in this. You know, that's the first thing. Oh shit, yeah, no, I lived in this system, but you gotta release the guilt at some point and say, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. What can we do now? You know what I mean? And it's hard to do because if you're in fight or flight, you physically feel like you're fucking dying just by making admitting this one thing. It changes your entire life, but it changes it for the better. And I don't know how to make people understand that when you step into that compassion space to say, no, I don't know what you're saying exactly, but I'm gonna listen. It changes.
Vince, until you know who you are, like really know who you are, you're never, or start to move in that direction. Like I could ask you, Derek, when did you find out you were Black? You see what I'm saying? You didn't know you were Black till someone told you.
Somebody told me.
Someone had to tell you that you were this. That means that's not what you are.
Right.
Society has created these laws that treat people with different colored skin, different sexes, different disabilities get treated different. You were complete and whole when you came in. Anything that someone needed to tell you you're not. Right? That's how we know we're consciousness. That's how we know we're love. These are just the packages we came in. And because we came in with these packages, we have certain challenges, right? But it's up to us to help people realize that we're way more than this package. And we're from the same creation that you are from, right? We all just got these little stories that we're caught up on. And the stories are all bullshit. If you put all of us as kids in the same home, we're all gonna come out with the same beliefs. You're gonna be my brother, we're gonna be brothers, that's it. That's all. It's that simple. Yeah. It's that simple. You ever seen the movie The Jerk? You ever see the movie The Jerk?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Steve Martin said he was born a poor Black child. He thought he was gonna turn Black when he got older. See, that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. He realized, he thought he was just one of them.
Just thought he's one of them. Hey, look,
no one told him anything different.
You can put a dog and a cat together as babies. Next thing you know, they don't know the difference. You know what I mean?
And that's a different, and that's even a different species. We're all human beings. Exactly. Like we are all expressions, and we're all came from the same source, and we all have our unique package. That's it. And when you realize that, then you don't treat other people with a different package any different, because that's just their package. That's it. It's like a paint job on a car, dude.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't change with the engine and the chassis, and it doesn't change anything internally or who you really are, man. It's just paint. You know, if my skin was to come off, you wouldn't know if I would or I was.
That's right.
Right? We're getting killed because of paint on a car.
And if people really believed in what they say they believe in as Christians, you know, I was looking at something with Kirk Franklin.
KKK is Christian. The KKK was based on Christianity.
Bingo.
Don't get me started on Christians and shit.
No, but I'm trying to make a point.
No, I feel you on it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to, yeah.
Yeah, but Kirk Franklin was on, I think, TBN. And, you know, they had him on, and then it was some white preachers on there. And, you know, he was just kind of, he broke it down to him. He was like, you know, they all admitted as white pastors that they knew that they had a responsibility to preach to their parishioners about racism. You know what I mean? But they were kind of like, I don't want to go off on that limb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's when Kirk came in and was like, well, wait a minute. If you're a Christian and if you really believe in the Bible, you know, then what the Bible says about, you know, blah, 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 men is this, that, and love Christ and love. So again, and that's something to me like, dang, Kirk. And that goes back to what Vince was saying. You know, with me, because I look at things as black and white. I don't see gray area. So I'm like, well, damn, he got to tell these white evangelicals about treating, you know, blacks fairly and racism, and they don't know better.
They're the number one supporters of Trump. White evangelicals. They're the number one supporters of Trump.
That's insanity.
How can you be that what you claim to be and support? Even on the smallest level, just the way he treats people. How can you support that?
Yeah, that's what the women who support him, like, how do you just ignore that? My daughter, she can't. My daughter can't look up to that. Like, it just can't. I've had my share of women and maybe lied to get what I wanted at times, but I've never said I'm gonna walk up and grab somebody in the pussy.
Never.
Hey, locker room, talk to me like that. That's a different dude.
Hey, Vince, Vince, you said you probably lied.
See what I did there? No, I definitely lied.
Oh man, that's a good one. You said maybe I lied.
You sound like a politician now, man.
Hey, come on.
Hey,
We all lied.
Did you smoke weed and not inhale too, or what?
Man,
No,
come
I
on.
inhaled that shit. I probably lied to that.
But you know what's crazy, guys? When you know Republicans, they say, "Oh man, we're pro-life," but you're not pro-Black lives.
Yeah.
Nope.
You know what I mean? It's like you're pro-life, but what about? That's why I say
Living and breathing alive. When Candace Owens makes that abortion, I like, shut the fuck up with that. It's not even the same thing. It don't even belong in the same sentence.
It's a way of justifying. It's justification, and that's what it is. And I just want to go back something to what Monk was saying, even in, with blacks, and even what Joe was saying. You got to understand, like I said, they're still first now in 2020 as it relates to black folks. My mother couldn't drink at the same water fountain that her little friend could. I'm talking about my mother. I ain't talking about my grandmother. I ain't talking about my great grandmother. And when you tell people these things, we're not too far removed from it. I was born in 1967 during the Detroit riots. So again, when you really look at, we talk about black on black crime, and I think Monk said it best. You talk about poverty, you talk about lack of economics, you talk about different things in the hood, so to speak. I always say, black people nobody kills each other. Let me put it this way. A white person doesn't go kill a white person because he's racist against him. Black person don't go kill a black person because he's black. You feel me?
Poverty.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that in the hood, if you go put a black person next to, if I lived in the ghetto on 7 Mile in Wyoming, and you put a black person over here and then a white person over here, if I'm a killer, I'm gonna go kill equally.
Perfect example. Trading Places. If you ever seen that movie,
Definitely.
If you take a white young kid and throw him in the hood, he gonna be doing hood shit. Period.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Period. It's not because of his race. It's because of the economic situation he was placed in.
Bingo.
Bottom line.
And you're always going to have exceptions to every rule.
I committed
You
crimes
yes,
for
yes,
entire
yes.
minutes.
you adapt to your environment.
There you
It
Exactly.
doesn't matter what it is. You adapt to your environment.
go. There you go.
So it doesn't matter. You put any kind of person in any kind of situation, and they're going to adapt to their environment, no matter
They're
what
gonna
color
conform.
they are, where they're from.
People
That's
think they
the
are not
environment
capable of
they do.
killing. People think they're not capable of killing. Everybody is
Oh,
capable of killing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
You're capable of anything. And the people who don't, they're scary because when you start to look, you got to admit that you're human and that you're not far removed from being that human. You're maybe one bump in the head of, or maybe one beating too many when you were a kid. Anything is possible. And when you won't admit that anything is possible, you close yourself off and you become a shell of a human that's confined to ideology. And that's what the racist is. And that's trauma. You know what I mean? That's a trauma. That's a trauma response. They live in a shell. That's a hell they'll never get out of. I'm not saying sympathize for them. It's well placed, right? But like it's the same thing. It's just it's taken on a different form. And they see Trump, when you were talking about the paint on the car, I think about Trump and I'm thinking, well, Trump's the car. You know what I mean? He's the car. Whether he's white or black or indifferent. And I don't know that he's racist because he's a narcissist. And I think that overrides everything because he'll use whoever, whenever, however to get whatever he wants. So he'll say whatever it takes. If somebody said
I
that,
agree with that to a point.
you know what I mean? He'll say whatever. So he's dangerous. And it doesn't matter what the paint on the car is. This person's driving our fucking lives. So that's where us as compassionate or even semi-compassionate, I want to be compassionate. Just people who see that there needs to be different. That's where we need to take what we're saying here, and we need to mobilize people. Cause I'm going to what if Biden wins, I'm going there. This is no bullshit, and I want to get as many groups as possible that they would look at and say they should be fighting each other out there, saying no taxation without representation. You're going to make these demands right here. You're going to meet them. You're going to reform the police. There's going to be a tax board. And you're going to, you know what I mean? Like, I wrote down a bunch of shit. I'm dead serious with this shit.
Why don't you run for office?
No, fuck that. I want to, because not in this system, you know what I mean? But if it was a five-party system.
Run as independent. I'm just simply saying
it's too corrupted. This system needs to go. Like campaign finance has got to go. It can't be there. Because how do you play that game? You look at Marianne Williamson, right? She's coming out with, she's all spiritual, all love, and right. Everybody made fun of her. But you can't deny that's really a politics of love is really where we should go, right? But she gets ostracized, and she can't raise the kind of money that everybody else can because you got it. It's got to go. And then we can start to implement policies that represent people, because there's more people that are with black people, more white people that are with black people than aren't. You know what I mean? It's just the loudmouths that make it seem different.
I think me being black, and I'm gonna say this, I think it's just got to get to the point, and this is a very elementary thought that my mother taught me when I was a little child. Treat me the way you want to be treated. Treat everybody the way you want to be treated. It's just, if people could just do that at the bare minimum.
Even better than that.
Please.
Treat everybody the way they want to be treated.
Thank you. I say that a lot, Mark, to your point. Because I may not love myself. I may do certain things to destroy my body, whatever. So to your point, that's a great point.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't listen, right? We get stuck in our response, and I've done that in relationships, just minimize their needs because, well, why would you even want that? That's, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I don't treat myself good, so
yes,
I don't view it as good. I dismiss it. We dismiss people when we don't treat ourselves good. That's where it goes back to that self-love. You got to get that self-love to be able to have that compassion, to be able to listen, to be able to see.
That's true.
I mean,
But if they could adopt that philosophy, people, and it's not a black thing, a white thing, it's a human thing.
union thing.
If we just as human beings could treat each other with empathy, with compassion, with love, with respect, just those few 4 or 5 qualities, man. I mean, this world would be a better place. Simply, man. It ain't
Abundance.
it don't have to be complicated. It really doesn't. If I treat Vince like Vince wants to be treated, or if I love myself and I treat Vince with love, or if Joe, like Joe said, if I can say, you know what, Derek, change this part about myself. You can't, like they say, locker room talk. You know what I mean? If I'm talking to Monk, we gotta change that. We gotta change certain things. You know what I mean? We can't have that same conversation because
we all have things to change within ourselves, you know.
There's no doubt.
And it's like and it's hard to ask somebody else to view you different if there's still things you need to work on yourself. Like we all need, you know, in the meantime, we need to better ourselves to represent ourselves better to everybody else.
I agree.
And that makes it easier for other people to understand and see us differently, no matter who we are. That was my point of view on all that.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. Be the change. You know?
Be the change. But in the meantime, while I'm working on myself,
right. Yep.
Police don't kill me.
Yeah, exactly. I feel you on that.
You feel me on that? In the meantime, while I'm working on me and Monk having that conversation, and my nigga, hey, don't kill me. Don't kill me over that conversation.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
You know what I mean? So
we're all working, right? Some of us aren't working, but for the most part, I think it's a collective thing that we want to be better. You know?
Oh yeah.
But we don't allow people the space to work because we get on that high horse because it makes us feel better. We get the instant gratification of, well, I don't do that, man. You know, we're all at different phases of growth, and nothing makes me happier than to see somebody growing. You know what scares the white establishment more than anything? Black positivity. You know what I mean? That's like a bullet to them. When you see black people unify and speak positivity, like that's why Martin Luther King was so scary. Like, what the fuck? How do we even fight this? You know what I mean?
And let me tell you something about that point you're making, Vince. We are starting to come back around and connecting to the earth like before slavery. We are taking herbs now. We are the highest demographic when it comes to plant-based eating. We're understanding the about energy and crystals and all these different things that we can connect with our higher selves. Mm-hmm. So now in Oakland, sometimes when you go to these little markets and these outdoor things, you'll see these Black people that are so tapped in. They're not using the N-word. They're not doing anything like that. Here's these healing herbs. Here's this jewelry, this very powerful jewelry. Here's these, they're tapped in. They're getting back to the roots that were taken from them, the culture that was taken from them, and they're young. And that gives me hope. These little kids are out here doing, I had a conversation with a kid that was my son's age, and he was just like, yeah, you know, I'm out here doing this and telling me about his diet and what he's doing and how he's going into the community and doing this community work. It's not what the media portrays these young Black kids as. We're changing right now before your eyes. They're always going to show you the shooter. They're always going to show you the ignorant young kid that has lost his way. That's not what's going on right now. Like I said, the highest demographic of going back to plant-based eating out of anybody on the planet right now.
I'm gonna tell you something, Monk, and this is a true story. And I was telling a friend of mine, I'm putting together this like this self-empowerment type of video the other day, right? And so I'm going to YouTube, trying to just find little clips. And I told my friend, I said, man, you know the craziest thing? I said, I'm on YouTube. And I wanted to find a little clip of Black folks embracing. Do you know how long that took me?
Took you a minute, huh?
That's interesting.
I wanted to find a clip of Black folks working together, like, you know, building a house or cutting down a tree. Do you know how long it took me to find this stuff? I literally had to just go get some stock footage somewhere.
Oh shit.
Well, if you come out to Oakland this weekend to heal the hood, you'll see all kind of black people out there.
But you see my point. What I'm saying is what you said, Monk, is what see, I went to, I'm in entertainment like Vince and, did some different things. And when I went to school, they talked about the news. The news, good news doesn't sell, whether it's white, black, or indifferent. You know what I mean? No, they're not going to talk about those things. And what I'm saying, especially in the black community, it's these images, man. When we go make a movie, Vince and I was in a movie. Hey, I played what? The black terrorist, you know what I mean? Trying to get rid of the man, So what I'm saying is it's the images, man. It's the images. We need, even though with Bill Cosby and all that, but that was the one beautiful thing about that show. It had black positive images, a lawyer and a doctor. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Good Times or, some other Sanford and Son. It was positive images. And even as black folks, as kids, even for myself, you know what I mean? We just need more to show those more of those black images, man. And that's why it's so important. And people don't understand this outside of the black community, but just even as a black, when I was a kid, we didn't have black dolls.
No, they still don't have a lot. Yeah, they still don't have a lot.
No. So that's why it was such a big deal when The Princess and the Frog was made. See, people outside of the community don't really understand that. You know what I mean? But it's the images. So I had to tell my little girl, at the time, we couldn't go find a black baby alive, or, you know what I'm saying? Or Dad, why not a black princess?
Well, that's why Black Panther was such a huge movie. It was like the first representation. It's like, people didn't understand it. They're like, why is this such a big deal? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that was the first positive representation of like a superhero, someone to look up to, someone to look up to. And, that's exactly why it represented so much more than just, another superhero movie. It wasn't another fucking Superman,
Because you know what our heroes were, Joe?
Pimps, drug dealers.
Right. No,
black exploitation movies. We in the hood. That's what we looked up to.
Dolomite. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey, Derek, I got something for you though, man. So we moved out to this place called Castro Valley, which is probably about 10 minutes from the Oakland border. Right. But it's a little isolated place where back in the day, when I was living in Oakland, they say, don't go through there because you're going to get pulled over. You're going to get messed with. But it's not that way today. But they still had that feel around here a little bit. So I always go to the coffee shop. And you can see me, I'm all tatted up looking this way, right? Yeah. But these older white dudes that be in there that don't be talking to any black people, they would approach me because of the way I carried myself, right? And we had have open dialogue about stuff that's super important. Where I think if I didn't carry myself the way I carried myself, this would never come. And it took a long time for me going to the same coffee shop to go, like, what's your deal? For them to ask me, like, what's your deal? And when they said that door is open. And now I'm pretty sure these dudes have viewed people that look like me a certain way their whole entire life due to the image that's put out there about us. That's it. And I know when I left that conversation, when I first spoke with this group of men, their minds were blown. They were just like, what was that? You see what I'm saying? Because we are all different. We all are, our education is different. The way we grew up was different. What our superpowers are different. You know what I'm saying? Our gifts that we have to share are different. But the only thing they ever see is criminal, violent, less than, right? So when you come, especially looking a certain way, I didn't come in there with my pants pulled up around my chest, with a tight ass and a sharp haircut and no tattoos. No, I came in there looking like myself, right? And I'm sure when they first see me, they're like, oh man, like not another one of those, right? But at the end of the day, when they finally got to know me as a person, I know that it changed. That's how you change lives. You bring your light everywhere you go. You bring your love everywhere you go. Don't bring a judgment to these people. You just show up as you know you can show up. And when you show up like that, there's going to be old white ladies that come up and want to talk to you. There's going to be people you never thought in a million years that probably would even be afraid of you, but the energy you're giving off is welcoming. So they're going to come up and ask you what your deal is. Man, I had an old lady, about 90 years old, sitting next to me and just start chopping it up with me. Back in the day, that wouldn't happen. I wasn't carrying that type of energy.
Right.
I was prejudging everybody because of the way I was treated. So I'm giving off that stand away, stand back. Now I'm like, come on.
Let me give you a little bit of,
let me give you a little bit of what I'm sharing with you right now. You know, let me give you a little bit of this love. Come closer, and they feel it, and that's why I'm getting approached so much now. Where before people were just like, man, I ain't going close to that guy.
And to your point, Monk, that's what we should do as a whole. And sometimes it's hard. You know what I mean? It's
not easy.
It's I always say, because I've always been the bigger person. You know what I mean? In the relationships or my friendships, or, oh man, hey, look, dog, you my guy, man. Come on, we get through this. You know, I've always been that bigger person. And my brother, my younger brother, was a great guy. And he said, it was the other day, he was somewhere because he does window cleaning or what have you. And he said there's a white lady, elderly white lady, she was with her husband, and he could feel their energy. They were looking at him, you know. Now, mind you, he's doing windows at the business, but he could feel that lady still was nervous about him getting out the car. So my brother being my brother, the lady got out the car, she was all elderly, and she almost stumbled. His natural reaction was to do what?
Help her.
She pulled back, like, I'm good, you know. And my brother living in this bubble that he lives in, I had to explain to him, like, dude, you know what I mean? So I get your point, Monk. Trust me, I definitely get your point. You know, but just sometimes it's tiring, bro. It's tiring.
Oh no, absolutely. But you cannot allow other people to take you out of your space.
True.
That's that part right there. If we're so tired of it, why do we allow that to pull us from our center?
True.
Right? If you're tired of it, don't allow it to pull you from your center.
True. That's true.
You see what I'm saying? True. And I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm tired of it. But you feeling a certain way is affecting you in the way you don't want to feel that.
No doubt.
Right? So if you look at all the sages that walked this planet, you look at Buddha, you look at Jesus, you look at all these people, right? They never got pulled from their center. They affected other people. They didn't let people affect them. Right? So their energy was so high frequency that they could heal people just by being around them.
Sure.
No, and there's three.
Right? That's how powerful that the energy they carried with them was.
That's true.
That's what we need to do. We need to carry that.
Three traits.
What's that, man?
Among all of them, from Jesus to Buddha to Gandhi to Martin Luther King, they were unattached to the good opinion of others. They weren't attached to outcome, and they were driven by something bigger than themselves, not power driven. Those three things. And when I heard Wayne Dyer break that down in Wisdom of the Ages, that's what I said, that's how I need to be. I need to detach myself from the opinion of others, because what people think of me is none of my business. I'll listen, I'll take in criticism, but I know when to take a step back. When I'm getting in my trauma response and I want to get defensive, and I'm not attached to outcome. I'll set a goal as a unit of measurement, but I'm not going to die if I don't get there. But I'll use it to look and see if I'm moving in the right direction. And I have no desire to be powerful in anything other than my space, illumination. You know what I mean? So if that's the start, because I'm still very flawed, I still fall the fuck out of that all the time. You know what I mean? But I think it's a start. And when you look at those individuals, well, that was them, you know, except they had a purpose that was divine, and they were attached to it.
But we all have a purpose.
Well, that's what I was getting to.
Look, all these people have said that we have just as much capabilities as they do.
Yep, if not more.
We're not connecting the way we should. We still got corrosion around the cables. Mm-hmm. We need to clean that up so that connection can be much stronger. You know what I'm saying? And that's what a spiritual practice does for you. Sure. That's what connected every day is cleaning those copper wires so the connection is clear and strong. And that's how your life starts to change. When you, man, there's nothing more important than I could say to anybody that's listening is to have some type of practice
Mm.
that you do when you get in the morning. Start with some gratitude and then have a practice. It can be your own unique practice, but to start your day in that trajectory, right? To start your day off on that foot creates your whole day, and your whole day becomes different.
Well, and there's a reason for it too. Russell Brand, I love this analogy. He said the spiritual life is like rowing a rowboat away from a waterfall. You can do it, but the second you got to be aware that the second you take that paddle out to rest, that force is going to pull you back against your will. You got to get that paddle back in, and you got to keep paddling. You know, and that's what it's like. We got the subconscious that's constantly pulling back on us. It's not our fault. It's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault. We were programmed. We had nothing to do with this. We got to keep rowing. We got to keep rowing, because when we can take a break, but just know that you're gonna start. There's a force back there, and that's where the daily practices for me. Like if I got 5 daily practices, I know I'm on the verge of some kind of fucking meltdown if I've gone 5 days and for whatever reason I just don't want to meditate for 5 minutes in the morning. Like I know something's off in my head, so I got to check myself. You know what I mean? I'm not aware of what's going on, but there's something in my subconscious right now, and there's some pain there. I don't know what it is. I got to get on my practices, you know, and it just inches you toward something better. You know what I mean? Like just those little things. They're so goddamn important. People think they're not, you know, and it's stupid. Why should I have to do that? If you don't, you know. If you don't, you're gonna wind up in those angry places. You know, for me, it's that's been a lifesaver, is implementing those things. And because I'm not at a point where I'm going off the deep end to where it's visible on the outside, I have to watch the nuances, and that's how I watch the nuances. If I slip, I know I'm slipping, and I just got to. But that's a whole different. I think we cleaned the cables on this. You know what I mean? I think we cleaned the cables pretty good, and I think we're gonna have to come back and do it again and just keep doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've been on here for like 3.5 hours.
I
Yeah,
know, bro.
we went over our time. I had us blocked for 3. I'm like, oh, they're gonna be all pissed because they're gonna see 3. We don't have to go for 3. We just kept going.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you, Joe.
I appreciate you too, man.
All of you.
Yeah,
It was a great conversation. I'd love to do it again, man. Definitely.
Yeah, please.
We are going to do it again. This is the stuff that I need to hear. We all need to hear. And then there's people out there that they want to have the conversation too, and they can get in.
Thanks for having me on, Vince. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you for the invite, for sure.
Hey, fellas, it's all love, right? You know,
No doubt.
it is. Let's inauguration day. We're going to Washington.
All right. Let
All
me
right.
know, man.
What's that?
Let me know.
I'm serious. But
Okay, I'm serious too. Let me know.
we'll see as we inch along. But let's keep it on this positive. I love that analogy. Let's keep cleaning those cables. 'Cause maybe we go out there and be loud but not aggressive. You know.
I feel you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have
All
a
right,
good night.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
All
for
right,
jumping
man.
on.